Mati ya ini ya.
University Center of Excellence, Javanologi for Javanese Tradition. In 2011, 11 Maret University (UNS) established the Study Center of Javanologi Institute under the Institute of Research and Community Service (LPPM UNS) as one of the implementations of the university vision and mission based on the noble values of national culture. The specifications of the field of study are description, explorations, explanations, and income-generating unit of Javanese culture's premium products. The vision of UNS as the Center for the Development of Science based on the noble values of national culture and also the existential responsibility for its existence in the center of the Javanese culture, then Study Center of Javanologi Institute was upgraded to the University Center of Excellence, Javanologi for Javanese Traditions in 2020. Javanologi UNS has a strategic role as the center for the study and development of Javanese culture.
Our vision is to become the center of excellence in science, technology, and art based on the noble values of national culture. Our missions are developing cultural thought and practices based on the noble value of national culture, improving the result of studies and works of Javanese intellectual culture in international standard, and organizing various training to increase knowledge and skill and strengthening Javanese cultural values to the community.
Ranking all Javanese cultural development institutions around the world through the UNS Java Metric, World Java Diaspora Program with a network of 19 countries and Javanese Youth Global Networks, the GCA Javanese Cultural Awards Program for actors, activists and developers of Javanese culture, organizing scientific forums in the form of seminars, discussions, symposiums and workshops. The Teko Jahe Intensive Course on Javanese Cultural Heritage Program and High Java Program for the Javanese Diaspora Community, Javanese Traditional Performing Arts Program, programs for publishing and disseminating research. Consulting on Javanese culture offline and online, counseling for prospective diaspora students, providing the Keris Pusaka or Javanese Dagger certification, translating old Javanese manuscript, documentary video production on Javanese culture, service for using Pendapa Ageng or Javanese traditional hall, Javanese wedding organizer, and Javanese culture learning services through various trainings and cultural courses such as Sanggar Wirasa for the UNS academic community and the public, both domestic and foreign, Pambiwara School, Master of Ceremony in Javanese, Reading and Writing Javanese Script, and Ludruk Performance School. researches published in Scopus, books, e-books, journals and translation works, videos and webinars, kimono batik, digitalized Javanese manuscripts. By accomplishing our vision and missions, inventing more programs, and connecting people through Javanese traditions, in Javanologi, we are eager to expand the horizon of Javanese tradition at the global stage and set to be the referral center of Javanese tradition.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yusuf Kurniawan. I am the MC for today's conference. Let's get started. To signify the opening of today's program, we will listen to the national anthem of the Republic of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. The Honorable Rector of Universitas 11 Maret Surakarta, who is represented by the Vice Rector of Academic and Students Affairs, Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yunus, MS. The Honorable Keynote Speaker, Dr. Hendra Satya Pramana, MA. The Honorable Head of PUI Javanologi UNS, Professor Dr. Sahid Teguh Widodo, M.Hum, Ph.D. The Honorable Panel Speakers, Dr. Sandra Reeve from University of Exeter, UK, Professor Josaphat Tetuko Sri Sumantyo, Ph.D. from Shiba University, Japan, Tresia Yuliana Putri, MA from Warsaw, Poland, Associate Professor Dr. Novel Anak Lyndon from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, Profesor Sahid Teguh Widodo, M.Hum, Ph.D. from Universitas 11 Maret Surakarta, distinguished guests and participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon and welcome to the International Conference on Sirep Sungsang, Building Mental and Spiritual Immunity in Facing the COVID-19 Pandemic, today, the 8th of April, 2021. Today's program was initiated and organized by University Center of Excellence Javanologi for Javanese Tradition, or PUI Javanologi UNS. Well, ladies and gentlemen, shortly we will listen to two remarks. The first will be delivered by the chair of the committee, and the second will be presented by the Vice Rector of UNS. Firstly, I would invite the Chair of the Committee, Deniawan Tommy Chandra Wijaya, SOS, M.Hum, to present the report on today's conference. Mr. Denny, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih atas waktu yang telah diberikan ke saya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehat dan sejahtera bagi kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Bapak Hendra Satya Pramana, Konsul Jenderal Republik Indonesia di Noumea, New Caledonia. Yang saya hormati Rector Universitas 11 Maret, Profesor Dr. Jamal Wiwoho M.Hum. Yang saya hormati para pembicara dan moderator, juga Profesor Sahid Teguh Widodo M.Hum Ph.D. dan Profesor Dr. Madya Kristina M.A. Ph.D. selaku Ketua dan Sekretaris Pusat Unggulan Ipteks Javanologi UNS, segenap pimpinan Universitas 11 Maret, para dekan dan para dosen fakultas di UNS, dan juga para peserta webinar, sekaligus juga para pemirsa YouTube live streaming. Hadirin yang berbahagia, pertama-tama marilah kita semua panjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala atas segala berkat dan rahmat-Nya, sehingga acara webinar International Conference on Sirep Sungsang dapat kita selenggarakan secara lancar pada hari ini. Selaku panitia penyelenggara, kami mengucapkan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya kepada hadirin yang telah berkenan mengikuti kegiatan ini meski secara virtual daring. Hadirin yang berbahagia juga saya hormati, Pusat Unggulan Ipteks Javanologi Kajian Tradisi Jawa Universitas 11 Maret Surakarta telah berhasil mencatat beberapa prestasi dalam penguatan lembaga, academic excellence, dan commercialization and implementation melalui pelaksanaan kegiatan sesuai dengan roadmap tahun 2021 dan sampai 2023, juga track record potensi akademik, sistem jaringan dan informasi, hasil kajian dan waran dari berbagai kegiatan ilmiah. Juga kelengkapan kepustakaan dan informasi, kekuatan jaringan dan kerjasama, keberadaan di sentrum-sentrum budaya Jawa, hubungan kolegial profesional dengan pakar dan praktisi budaya, serta dukungan sarana dan prasarana Universitas 11 Maret. Dalam rangka Dies Natalis UNS ke-45 ini, PUI Javanologi Kajian Tradisi Jawa UNS menyelenggarakan webinar internasional bertajuk Sirep Sungsang, yang pada intinya merupakan agenda utama kegiatan PUI Perguruan Tinggi dan pelaksanaan roadmap PUI Javanologi Kajian Tradisi Jawa tahun 2021 ini. Webinar International Conference on Sirep Sungsang dengan tema Building Mental and Spiritual Immunity in Facing the COVID-19 Pandemic menghadirkan Keynote Speaker yang saya hormati Bapak Hendra Satya Pramana. Beliau adalah Konsul Jenderal Republik Indonesia di Noumea, New Caledonia. Sedangkan untuk pembicara utama dalam webinar kali ini adalah Profesor Josephat Tatuko Sri Sumantyo Ph.D. dari Chiba University, Jepang, Associate Profesor Dr. Novel Anak Lyndon dari University Kebangsaan Malaysia, juga Dr. Sandra Reeve, founder of Move into Life, Honorary Fellow of University of Exeter, United Kingdom, Tresia Yuliana Putri M.A., founder of Yoga Vagansa and I.O. Nindo dari Warsawa, Polandia, dan juga Profesor Sahid Teguh Widodo M.Hum Ph.D., Ketua Pusat Unggulan Ipteks Javanologi Kajian Tradisi Jawa UNS. Sedangkan untuk jumlah peserta yang telah mendaftar dan mengikuti acara ini berjumlah sekitar 327 peserta dari 15 negara, antara lain Filipina, New Caledonia, USA, United Kingdom, Netherlands, Malaysia, Jepang, Polandia, Switzerland, Singapura, Fiji Island, United Arab Emirates, Timor Leste, Australia, dan dari Indonesia sendiri. Peserta juga terdiri dari jaringan diaspora Jawa dunia di Eropa, Amerika, Asia, dan Australia, Japanese Youth Global Networks, dosen dan akademisi, mahasiswa mulai dari level S1, S2, sampai S3, para peneliti, kritikus, budayawan, seniman, dan masyarakat pemerhati budaya Jawa. Adapun pemakalah yang telah mengirimkan paper kepada panitia berjumlah sekitar 25 paper dengan mengangkat beberapa subtema yang telah ditentukan oleh penyelenggara. Paper yang telah diterima selanjutnya akan dilakukan proses review, proofreading, kemudian juga co-writing, editing, dan akhirnya publishing ke Javanologi International Journal of Japanese Studies. Hadirin yang berbahagia, kami selaku panitia penyelenggara webinar International Conference on Sirep Sungsang mengaturkan terima kasih yang tulus dan penghargaan yang setinggi-tingginya kepada seluruh pihak yang telah membantu kelancaran terselenggaranya acara ini. Semoga kerjasama yang sangat baik ini dapat terus dilanjutkan pada kesempatan mendatang. Tak lupa, kami selaku panitia tentunya menyadari pasti ada kekurangan, dan kami menyampaikan permohonan maaf yang sebesar-besarnya atas segala kekurangan selama penyelenggaraan acara ini. Pada akhirnya, kami selaku panitia mengucapkan selamat mengikuti webinar. Diharapkan dengan mengikuti webinar ini dapat memberikan pencerahan buat kita semua dan bisa membantu kita membangun imunitas mental dan spiritual kita, serta menemukan strategi budaya yang elegan, efektif untuk menghadapi bencana pandemi COVID-19 ini. Demikianlah hadirin yang saya hormati. Akhirnya dengan memohon ridho Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa, semoga webinar ini dapat terselenggara dengan lancar tanpa kendala apapun dan mendatangkan manfaat positif bagi kita semua. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam damai dan sejahtera. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan.
Secondly, I would cordially invite Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yunus, MSc, the Vice Rector of Academic and Students Affairs of Universitas 11 Maret, to present his remark and simultaneously open the conference. Prof. Yunus, the floor is yours, sir.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semuanya. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang terhormat Bapak Hendra Satya Pramana, Konsul Jenderal Republik Indonesia di Noumea, New Caledonia. Yang terhormat Profesor Jusafat Teguh, Sri Sumantyo, Ph.D. from Shiba University, Jepang. Yang terhormat Associate Professor Novel Anak Lyndon dari University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Yang terhormat Ibu Dr. Sandra Reeve, Founder of Move into Life, Honorary Fellow University of Exeter, United Kingdom. Yang terhormat Ibu Teresa Juliana Putri, M.A, Founder of Yoga Vakansa and Ionindo, Warsaw, Polandia. Yang terhormat Bapak Profesor Dr. Sahid Teguh Widodo, dan yang terhormat Profesor Dr. Dia Kristina, M.A, Ph.D, selaku Ketua dan Sekretaris Pusat Unggulan Iptek Javanologi UNS, serta yang terhormat para pimpinan universitas dan fakultas di UNS, serta para peserta webinar yang sangat kami banggakan. Puji syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, yang telah memberikan rahmat dan kesehatannya sehingga kita bisa berkesempatan untuk menyelenggarakan webinar kali ini. Webinar dengan acara International Conference on Sirep Sungsang, the Building Mental and Spiritual Immunity and in Facing the COVID-19 Pandemic. Sudah 1 tahun lamanya masyarakat Indonesia dan dunia hidup di bawah masalah pandemi COVID-19 yang pertama kali datang di bulan Februari-Maret 2020. Upaya untuk meredam penyebaran COVID yang telah dilakukan oleh berbagai pihak sampai sekarang belum sepenuhnya pulih dari pembebasan pandemi COVID. Yang pada akhirnya pandemi COVID-19 berpotensi merubah wajah kebudayaan, tatanan hidup, peradaban manusia. Skenario globalisasi mau tidak mau harus mengalami perubahan arah. Pandemi COVID-19 menjadi problem global yang mengikat seluruh umat manusia merasa ada dalam satu perahu kehidupan yang sama. Hadirin yang berbahagia, dunia tempat kita berpijak sebenarnya masih sama dengan segala problematiknya. Tetapi pandemi COVID-19 ini telah memberikan kita jeda waktu yang lama untuk mengingat apa yang sudah terjadi di masa pra atau sebelum pandemi. Kemudian berbuat sesuatu yang lebih baik dan di saat pasca pandemi. Di balik sisi kelemahannya pandemi, ternyata kita berhasil memunculkan kekuatan sikap solidaritas sesama manusia yang begitu tinggi. Kepedulian terhadap mereka yang berada di garda terdepan dalam menangani pasien menjadi pandangan yang indah dan menyejukkan. Keberhasilan lain yang ditunjukkan oleh pandemi adalah terjadinya perubahan pandangan dunia, tradisi kehidupan, dan asumsi-asumsi yang pada gilirannya mendorong manusia berada di tengah pusaran krisis pragmatik budaya dunia. Berbagai tatanan, kebiasaan, dan fenomena kehidupan baru lahir dan harus dihadapi dengan cara yang tepat dan kadang-kadang tidak biasa. Bertolak dari gambaran tersebut, saya menyambut baik prakarsa Pusat Unggulan Javanologi Universitas 11 Maret sekaligus sebagai kado istimewa Dies Natalis UNS yang ke-45 yang mengadakan webinar internasional bertajuk Sirep Sungsang. Sirep sejatinya bermakna menghentikan, menenangkan, atau menyurutkan. Kolo berarti waktu atau pengikat, dan sungsang yang berarti terbalik, tidak semestinya, terjungkir balik. Dengan demikian, dalam arti bebas, sirep sungsang adalah upaya untuk menghentikan keadaan yang tidak pasti dan membahayakan, serta mengembalikannya ke dalam keadaan yang semestinya. Tamu undangan yang berbahagia, menurut hemat saya, tema webinar ini sangat menarik, yaitu Building Mental and Spiritual Immunity in Facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Oleh karena itu, saya berharap forum hari ini dapat dimanfaatkan untuk menghimpun ulasan kritis pengetahuan masyarakat dunia tentang pandemi. Yang kedua, menemukan formulasi intervensi dan rekayasa sosial masyarakat yang berbasis kearifan lokal Jawa pada khususnya. Dan yang ketiga, membangun imunitas mental dan spiritual, serta menemukan strategi budaya menghadapi bencana pandemi COVID-19 dan dapat disebarluaskan ke seluruh dunia. Mengakhiri sambutan ini, izinkanlah saya menyampaikan ucapan terima kasih kepada semua pihak yang telah mendukung forum diskusi pada hari ini, khususnya panitia dari Javanologi, kajian budaya, para pembicara dan moderator, serta seluruh peserta dan pemirsa live streaming YouTube UNS. Saya mengucapkan selamat berdiskusi. Semoga Allah SWT senantiasa memberkahi dan memberikan petunjuk kemudahan bagi setiap langkah kebaikan kita. Amin. Sebagai penutup pidato sambutan saya, izinkan saya berpantun. Bawalah payung jika hujan, tapi jangan suka main hujan-hujanan. Selamat datang kami ucapkan untuk hadirnya para tamu undangan. Salut dan sukses untuk Javanologi berhasil menyelenggarakan webinar yang bergengsi. Dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, secara resmi webinar internasional Conference on Sirep Sungsang, Building Mental and Spiritual Immunity in Facing the COVID-19 Pandemic secara resmi dibuka. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Matur nuwun, Prof.
Thank you, Prof. Yunus. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all speakers, guests, and participants, the committee will take our photos, so please turn on your videos. Because we are comprised of many participants. Here are enlisted 143, so maybe it takes time for the committee to take the photos of the screen one by one. Hello, committee. Have you started taking the pictures? Okay, starting from the first screen, maybe. May I count? 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. The next screen. 1, 2, 3. Okay, done. The third screen. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. And the next one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I noticed that there are many participants who haven't turned on their videos, so I would like to kindly ask you to turn on your videos so we will have the complete pictures of the participants. Okay, the next slide. Committee, have you completed taking all the pictures? Sudah semuanya? Oh, okay. Well, all right. Thank you very much, Prof. Yunus, for having opened our today's conference. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for having been taken our pictures then. Well, before the keynote speech session begins, we will be watching a video entitled Sirep Sungsang, It takes about 10 minutes, and the video shows how the world, human nature, and their surroundings are shattered. This film is closed with optimism that we can surely overcome it and take the victory back. Monggo silahkan diputar videonya.
Peace, health, prosperity are the rights of every living and breathing creature on earth. It is our mission to keep all of those things for living beings. But now, COVID-19 is coming as a threat. The battle of logics and feelings, fear, distrust, anger, and despair have taken away all happiness from them. There is hardly any smile left. The world is in grief. COVID-19 has made us live in terror. Do we want it to happen? Will we be willing to live in despair, anger, grief, and pain? we must stop it all. God will never leave us or forsake us. Nature is capable of healing itself, so do we. The storm will surely pass.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the video of Sirep kalau Sungsang. Now the conference shall continue. Besides being MC today, I was also appointed moderator. In a moment, we're going to have a keynote speech session. Therefore, please allow me to invite the keynote speaker, Dr. Hendra Satya Pramana, Consul Jenderal Republik Indonesia, Noumea, New Caledonia. Let me present his biography in brief. Dr. Hendra Satya Pramana was born in Probolinggo on June 27, 1967. He accomplished his undergraduate program in international relations at Universitas Airlangga Surabaya in 1991. He obtained his Master of Arts degree from Monterey Institute of International Studies, the United States of America, in International Policy Studies in 1997. Mr. Hendra, you have about 20 minutes to present your speech. The stage is yours now.
Thank you very much for the very generous introduction. Selamat siang, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to express my highest respect to Professor Dr. Jamal Wiwoho, the Rector of Universitas 11 Maret, represented by Vice Rector Professor Yunus, Professor Sahid Teguh Widodo, Ph.D., Head of University Center of Excellence, Javanologi for Javanese Traditions, Universitas 11 Maret, Professor Dia Christina, Ph.D., Secretary of the University Center of Excellence, Javanologi for Javanese Traditions, Universitas 11 Maret, Deans, Lecturers of Universitas 11 Maret, Professor Yusafat Tetuko Sri Sumantio, Ph.D., Chiba University, Japan, Associate Professor Dr. Novel Anak Lyndon, University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, Dr. Sandra Reeve, founder of Move into Life, Honorary Fellow of University of Exeter, United Kingdom, Tricia Juliana Putri, founder of Yoga Vaganza and Unindo in Warsaw, Poland, Dr. Yusuf Kurniawan, the moderator of this international conference, the organizing committee of the international conference, Sirep Kala Sungsang, speakers, participants of the conference, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a great honor for me to be here and to be given an opportunity to share my thoughts with regard to the Javanese descendants in New Caledonia in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. And so I give the title of my share today, COVID-19 pandemic, experience of New Caledonia in the life of Javanese descendants in New Caledonia. What will I be sharing this afternoon is, I think, something is different, and you will find out later on. It's really encouraging to know that participants of this international conference come from various parts of the world and have various academic and professional background. But now and here, we are united by common desire to discuss more about Javanese culture and traditions, in particular related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, many people in Indonesia in particular has no idea about New Caledonia. So it's well about its people, its culture and traditions, the language and spoken, etc., etc. I used to belong to this category before I stepped my foot on its soil. So the fact that I was invited to speak before this noble forum, hopefully is a good sign that New Caledonia is gradually being known to Indonesian people. In the context of what we are studying today is that New Caledonia is an important subject because of the existence of the Javanese descendants in significant numbers in this territory. So now let me quickly introduce you New Caledonia to give you a picture that helps you better understand the context of my presentations. So New Caledonia is currently being an overseas territory of France, located in South Pacific, east of Australia. The total population is about 270,000, consists of some islands, where Grand Terre is the main island. So here I want to show you where the New Caledonia is located. Okay. So before we dive further in this very interesting subject, I want to touch in general the situation related to the COVID-19 pandemic in New Caledonia. Well, here you can, I can see, we all see a little bit statistic of New Caledonia. The area we can see is 18,000 kilometers square. Main islands, Grand Terre, number of islands, including Bellet Islands in the north, Pine Islands in the south, etc., etc. Administratively, New Caledonia is divided into 3 provinces: North, South, and Loyalty Islands. Total population is 270,000. The gross domestic product around 9.9 billion US dollar, or around 143 trillion Indonesian rupiah. Okay. We in New Caledonia, to some extent, are very lucky people. When the virus of COVID-19 started to spread very quickly around the globe at the end of 2019, early 2020, the government of New Caledonia, together with the French authority, swiftly decided to close its international border. It is the only one international airport, Tontuta, and international seaport, Noumea. The closure took effect on 22nd of March 2020, midnight time, after the first case of positive tested of virus COVID-19 was detected on 18 March of 2020. The government imposed lockdown in the entire territory of New Caledonia on 24th of March 2020. All 18 cases existed at that time were related to travel abroad and were announced recovered on the 7th of May 2020. Following the closure of the border, which remains intact up to now, there is no passenger sea vessels harbors in Noumea seaport, while international air passengers, which previously serviced by 2 airlines, New Caledonia or Kalang and Australia Qantas, now are serviced only by Air Kalang after Qantas decided to terminate its service to Noumea. With only one access for international passengers, it is easier for the authority to control the flow of those entering New Caledonia territory. The next step being taken by the authority was to obliged all incoming international passengers to be quarantined for 14 days in hotels assigned by the government. The strict implementation of this border policy had made possible the existence of positive infected COVID-19 cases occurred only within the quarantine area. There was no case of positive infected COVID-19 outside the quarantine area. The lockdown last year was lifted on 19th of April 2020, and New Caledonia became a COVID-free territory. Until 7th of March 2021, just a few days ago, when a case of positive tested infected virus COVID-19 was reported. A second lockdown was established in the entire territory of New Caledonia since the 9th of March 2021 for 14 days, and then extended for another 7 days. There's no clear explanation to how a family returned from Wallis and Futuna, another French colony in the Pacific, could enter the New Caledonia territory without having detected carrying virus COVID-19. However, after 21 days of lockdown, the New Caledonian government are relaxing the limitations since the 1st of April 2021 due to the absence of new cases of domestic transmission of virus COVID-19. There is no additional cases of domestic transmission of COVID-19 for the last 1 or more week. But as a precaution measures and to make sure of the situation, the obligation to wear masks in public places, to apply social distancing measure and limitation the number of crowd to maximum of 50 people are still in place until 11th of April 2021. So if everything goes well, New Caledonia will return once again to be a COVID-free territory. Here we can see the latest numbers, statistics of COVID-19 situations in New Caledonia since last year. So far, there is no death case. Okay. So with regard to the closure of its borders, there's one crucial factor contributing to the speed of the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic in New Caledonia. It is the history of illness brought by Europeans into the territory 100 years ago that caused thousands of Kanak people, the indigenous people, died. Considering the size of its population, it is very small. The numbers are enough to cause worry that a particular illness could wipe out Kanak from its existence. This dark history rests strongly in the mind of Kanak elders and leaders. They didn't want it to be repeated with the COVID-19. So that's why the Kanak leaders at that time, last year, they pushed hard the New Caledonian government to quickly take strong measures to protect the populations at the closure of the borders. Ladies and gentlemen, a relatively comfortable life in New Caledonia amid the global COVID-19 pandemic, even with the two separated short period of lockdown, I believe has caused the absence of sense of urgency to build a common immunity system. The populations, all of us here in New Caledonia, including myself, have been enjoying a good life, normal life, without having bothered to wear masks, without fearing of getting infected with COVID-19 virus, without having to keep a distance in public places. We don't think there is an urgency to make some efforts of building mental and health immunity. There is nothing to be worried about. So the worry lies in economic life. The 3-week lockdown in 2020 and 3-week lockdown in 2021, when shops, supermarkets, restaurants, entertainment, or leisure establishments were closed So there were no income for companies or business owners. Factories and offices had to make their employees working from home, which for some, it means partial employment that caused some lower production. The difficulties faced by companies also faced by the slowing activities of their business partners abroad who face similar situations of pandemic. On the other hand, salaries and operational costs of companies still have to be paid. In these gloomy situations, the new Caledonian government launched some schemes of aid as follows. So government guaranteed loan has been awarded to more or less 1,400 companies. Around $216 million of loan has been disbursed. Enterprises Solidarity Fund given to those enterprises who lost minimum 50% of onset, and awarded to around 6,400 enterprises so far. This is count since last year. And also the government provide partial employment allowance, which is the 70% of the last salary paid. And also there is a 0% loan for home renovation and buying property. I think it is clear that this the objective for this of this loan is to keep the economic moving. The South Province government also provides subsidy in the amount of $8.9 million and dispersed to around 4,500 enterprises. And also, this is important, loan of $275 million from the France Development Agency, which is included in the 2020 government budget. This year, 2021 budget, it's not been established, so there's no loan included from the French Development Agency. Okay, now I want to talk a bit deeper about the Javanese descendant in New Caledonia. There are some categories of who the Javanese descendants are. When I mention Javanese descendants, it refers to those who migrated from what it is now called Indonesia into New Caledonia in 1896. And those who were born in New Caledonia from parents migrated from Indonesia to New Caledonia, and those who migrated from Indonesia to New Caledonia at a much later date. According to 2019 census, the number of Javanese descendants in New Caledonia is 3,786 people, or around 1.4% of the total population. It means
Hendra, you have
yes.
5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay, yes, yes. So the Javanese community ranked 4 of the biggest communities in New Caledonia, following Kanak, Europeans, Wallis, and Fujun. There are also Vanuatu and Vietnamese community. Other than numbers, how is the condition of the Javanese descendants in New Caledonia? In general, New Caledonians enjoy quite high level of prosperity. According to New Caledonia Statistics Office, the gross domestic bruto per capita in 2019 is about $38,000. So its economic scale is the biggest among countries of Pacific Islands after Australia and New Zealand. To describe in a simple story on how deep the wallets of the Javanese descendant in New Caledonia, it's like this. The Javanese descendants, mostly they visit their relatives in Indonesia once a year, every year, for 1 month, in average, every visit. And we understand very well what happened to us when we visit relatives or pulang kampung, what is expected from us? Yet again, it is affordable activities for them. The biggest portion of Javanese descendants nowadays are those who were born in New Caledonia. Among them, those over 50 years old speak Javanese and French. They do not speak Bahasa Indonesia. The Javanese language spoken is of low level or Moko. They do not speak high level of Javanese language or Kromo. Those who speak Bahasa Indonesia are those who came to New Caledonia directly from Indonesia, especially after 1970s. It is a fact that the younger generation of Javanese who were born in New Caledonia, they do not speak Javanese language nor Bahasa Indonesia. Some of them, those over 50 years old, are still active practicing Javanese traditions, such as kenduren or selamatan. They organize kenduren or selamatan following a ceremony, for instance, mitoni, celebrating the 7th month of pregnancy, selapanan, marriage, pray for the dead person, etc. However, with the pass of time, the practice of this kind of tradition is fading away. The younger generation do not have knowledge or will or both to do it. There is no mechanism to pass the knowledge, and also the surrounding factor, the intense interaction with non-Javanese neighbors, schoolmates, office mates, all adapt to the value changes that at the end of the day, leaving the old tradition practices behind. With regard to the COVID-19 pandemic, considering that New Caledonia is a COVID-free territory, the Javanese descendants here do not think there is any need to perform special ceremony or ritual, a tradition of Javanese culture, in order to protect themselves from COVID-19 pandemic. There is no pressing factor to build a mental and immunity system against COVID-19. So what is present is a sense of sympathy for what has happened to their families and relatives in Indonesia and other parts of the world. So that's all I think that I've covered all my points in my presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, to end these presentations, I would like to express my appreciations to the organizing committee and all who have made this conference materialize. I thank you very much for your kind attentions and for having me in this very noble forum. Have a productive and beneficial conference. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you. Matur nuwun.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Hendra. Matur nuwun. Terima kasih for your presentation. I think it provides us with valuable information about many facts in New Caledonia. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the panel session, we will be watching a video on Global Statement on Future Life. This video contains a collection of statements of the world's counters about strategies for facing the new world post-COVID-19. Let's enjoy the video.
Genap 1 tahun sudah, dunia digemparkan oleh wabah penyakit yang menghantui kehidupan manusia. Dari Wuhan, Cina, menyebar ke berbagai benua dan negara-negara dengan begitu cepat. Pandemi COVID bak sangkala yang memutarbalikkan kehidupan seluruh sendi peradaban manusia. Keadaan ini dapat diberi dengan satu istilah, yaitu Kolo Sungsang, yang berarti masa atau waktu di mana terjadi pemutarbalikan kehidupan. Pandemi COVID-19 harus segera diredam untuk dapat meneruskan peradaban makhluk di seluruh permukaan bumi. Beranjak dari pemikiran inilah, Pusat Unggulan Ipteks Javanologi Kajian Tradisi Jawa merasa penting untuk menghadirkan berbagai pendapat, nasihat dari seluruh pakar-pakar dunia yang dapat digunakan sebagai referensi atau pegangan untuk hidup baik di era kenormalan baru.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Hadirin yang saya hormati, masyarakat Jawa adalah sebuah kolektif yang telah ada sejak ribuan tahun lalu. Sejarah mencatat, masyarakat Jawa telah terbiasa menghadapi berbagai ancaman wabah penyakit ganas dan menular, bahkan mengakibatkan korban jiwa yang tidak sedikit. Saudara-saudaraku, kita berada di dalam perahu yang sama, melintasi samudera kehidupan yang saat ini sedang diterpa badai yang ganas, yakni pandemi COVID-19. Nenek moyang mengajari kita menyelesaikan berbagai masalah dengan prinsip kebersamaan dan dilandasi dengan keyakinan, tetaplah hati selalu. Angin buritan insya Allah segera berhembus, mendorong perahu kehidupan menuju dermaga harapan. Jangan pernah putus asa, jangan sekalipun menyerah. Mari kita korbankan semangat saling bantu-membantu. Bersama Universitas 11 Maret, mari bangkit bersama. Kehidupan harus tetap berjalan.
What we need is a sort of internationalist humanitarian approach where together as a world community we find solutions. So my suggestion is that we look back to deep time to learn from our experiences in deep time, look at present problems, and then look into deep future to think about ways of solving problems based on the lessons that we've learned.
Ik denk dat de huidige situatie tot somberheid leidt vanwege de pandemie. Maar ik geloof ook in onze resilience, dat wij deze pandemie te boven kunnen komen. Het zal in de toekomst denk ik wel anders uitzien dan wat we normaal gewend zijn. We hebben ook veel geleerd in deze pandemie over hoe we met elkaar kunnen communiceren en ook hoe we contacten kunnen blijven onderhouden over de grenzen heen. Ik denk ook dat de gevolgen van deze pandemie niet zozeer alleen qua gezondheid, maar ook in hoe wij met elkaar omgaan in de toekomst veranderd zullen zijn. En ik hoop hiermee toch een kleine bijdrage te hebben kunnen leveren aan deze discussie.
Big lessons we have learned, or hopefully we have learned from the pandemic. So the lesson here is strengthen government health services, like for example the United Kingdom's NHS, National Health Service. Strengthened government health services are essential to make an adequate response to a healthcare crisis like the pandemic, like the current pandemic, that causes an economic crisis.
環境の中、生徒たちは全員学校内にある寮で生活しています。一番安全な場所であるという具合に考えられます。多くの先生方は外部から通勤しております。そのため全員手指の 消毒をはじめマスクを着用し、
एंशियंट नालंदा को करने की एक प्रक्रिया बनी थी 2007 में विद द हेल्प ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया। 16 देश जो मेंबर्स ऑफ ईस्ट एशिया समिट के रह चुके हैं, इन लोगों ने सपोर्ट किया कि नालंदा को फिर से पुनः निर्माण किया जाए।
Als bijdrage om hierin in de komende tijd mee om te gaan, zou ik hierbij willen aanbevelen een leefwijze volgens de Javaanse gotong royong. Gotong, optillen, dragen, royong, samenwerken en elkaar ondersteunen. Voorbeelden van het principe van de gotong royong is samen met de mensen van het dorp het huis van de buren bouwen. Of samen met de buurt of dorp helpen bij een groot feest van een dorpsgenoot. Bijvoorbeeld bij een huwelijks- of jubileumfeest enzovoorts. Tegenwoordig in de moderne tijd krijgt gotong royong uiting in bijvoorbeeld zorghulp aan een familielid bij ziekte of leed, dat heet mantelzorg, of geldinzamelingsactie voor een gezin of individu vanwege een schrijnende situacji. Dat heet solidariteit.
Opowiedziałam, że pracuję jako instruktorka jogi i system jest bardzo spokojny i to daje dużo naprawdę działania hormonalne, które może różni się bardzo poważnie z innymi systemami, gdzie serce się męczy w trakcie ćwiczenia. I dla COVID-19 jednak to daje dużo różnica jak na zdrowie ogólnie.
COVID-19 realized us to save this planet, yes, the Earth. Yeah, let's do or to continue creating some idea, yes, including some new idea in culture development, yes, science and technology to save this planet, where the human and other creature could live forever in healthy and safe. Yeah. Don't give up, and let's do the best for our community to solve the pandemic by help each other.
Wij alle gamelan-groepen nodig hebben. Hè? Want de besluitvorming is dan zo cruciaal dat dat in het hele netwerk genomen wordt. Want we moeten niet achter.
The frontliners, nurses, medics, the media and all. None is spared. However the luck, for when a madman learns to use chewing stick, every tree branch becomes a victim. Some called it novel because it is new. Others called it trivial because it is fluid. But as minutes grew into days, heavy became its days.
Usually the way of inner enlightenment is Devaruchi, male. What is the way of Deviruchi, female? In the Sirep Chabalek by Ronga Warsita, written in around 1731. In the search for Amerta, the elixir of life, it says that Devaruchi bent sideways and said, "Here's the way, through my left ear." Verkudara hastened inside, and once within the god's abdomen, he saw a great sea, shoreless. He went away, almost out of sight, until he was like something seen far off in a half-sleeping state. And Devaruchi called out, "Hey, what do you see?" And the world's enlightener, Devaruchi, said, "It, the flame, is the reality of union. It means that all things are present within you, and all on earth is represented in your being. Between the macrocosmos and the microcosmos, there is now no difference."
Yogyaniro
Indonesia mengajak dunia untuk meraih kehidupan baru penuh harapan dalam balutan kebersamaan dengan bingkai kerukunan. Kita pasti bisa.
Tu enguni caritane
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we come to the main session now, that is panel sessions or panel speeches. There are 5 speakers who are going to present their papers, namely Dr. Sandra Reeve from UK, Professor Josaphat Tetuko Sri Sumantyo, Ph.D. from Japan, Resia Juliana Putri, MA from Warsaw, Poland, Associate Professor Dr. Novel Anak Lyndon from Malaysia, and Professor Sahid Teguh Widodo, M.Hum, Ph.D. from Indonesia. I will invite them to present their papers in sequence. Since we only have very limited time, I will give you each 20 minutes maximum to present your paper. I will remind you if the time is 5 minutes left. Now, for the first opportunity, I would like to invite Dr. Sandra Reeve. Hello, Dr. Reeve. How are you?
Good, thank you. Yes, very happy to be here.
Yeah, all right. Please allow me to introduce you to the audience at a glance. Dr. Sandra Reeve is a movement artist, director, teacher, mentor, and dance movement psychotherapist living in West Dorset, the United Kingdom, where her international Move into Life program of courses and events is based. She spent some time living in Java and studying movement in different landscapes, religious sites, and cultures with a Javanese movement artist in Java, in the UK, in the US, and in the other parts of Europe. In 2010, Dr. Reeve completed her Ph.D. in performance practice at the University of Exeter, the United Kingdom, where she is an honorary fellow. All right, Dr. Reeve, you have 20 minutes maximum. The stage is yours now.
Thank you very much. So, hello to everybody, and thank you for inviting me here. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Sahid Widodo for the invitation to join you at this conference and to share some of my thoughts about building mental and spiritual immunity in facing the COVID-19 pandemic. In my case, I've been exploring how to do this by taking my movement and movement teaching practice online through the virtual environment of Zoom. I believe that Zoom and other virtual platforms are here to stay in a post-COVID world, and that it's useful for me to reflect on how embodied movement can be adapted to a virtual environment and then conserved to build resilience in our communities. If I step back from the pandemic just for a moment and look at the wider context of climate change and ecological emergency, it is clear to me that this COVID pandemic may be just one of many challenging events that will occur within the next 20 or 30 years. With the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccination may offer hope and some immunity, but the effects of climate change will be even more physically devastating. There can be no vaccination to protect us from those. So I hope that I can contribute suggestions for building long-term mental and spiritual health and resilience in the face of rapid change. But I doubt that immunity itself is possible. This inquiry seems to me to be of the utmost importance, both for now and for later, for the resilience of our children and of our grandchildren. And for this, I give thanks for this conference. So usually I teach a program of movement in the real world, which people now call offline, both indoors and also in natural environments. My program's called Move into Life. This is a training in non-stylized movement and creative process. It draws extensively on the principles and on the dynamics of Jogeda Metta, the work of the renowned Javanese movement artist, Pak Suprapto Suryodharma, who I know is a close friend and colleague of many of you. I practiced and worked with him for 33 years, in fact, half my life, in Solo, in the UK, and around the world. When the pandemic began, I decided to run parts of my teaching program online via Zoom, and I learned many lessons from doing so. I partly did that because Suprapto had recently passed, and it felt important to link our international community and to offer what I could. Before I share what I've discovered over the last year, I want to answer the obvious question. Why is movement relevant to building resilience in a pandemic? So first of all, movement is intrinsic to human expression. It precedes and underpins thinking, language, and creative art. Movement is at the base of all of those. I experience movement as the most fundamental skill, the skill underlying all other skills. Movement can incorporate many layers of experience at the same time in a way that words cannot. Second, movement is utterly necessary for our well-being. Stagnation can bring depression and despair. Just we have to look at stagnant water to understand how movement brings aeration, brings flow, just like breath. We can all just breathe for a moment and give thanks that we're still breathing. Movement gives rise to change. Stillness, for me, is part of movement and can be dynamic. Thirdly, the body in movement can adapt far better to changes than an unmoving body. My moving body, like yours, is influenced by my environment and in turn influences the environment. Through movement, I can learn to adapt, attune, be fluid, accept or try to accept, and be part of the changing situation without losing myself. So that's why I find movement an intensely important and relevant skill in a pandemic, in a climate crisis, or in any other crisis. Next, I want to turn to 4 themes that I've explored over the past year in movement and in creative process. They are building resilience by learning the value of limitation, building resilience through sharing movement practice in community, thrawung, building resilience through sharing atmosphere with others, being aware of their environment, even this room, building resilience by understanding creativity as evolution. Let's spend a few moments with each of these. So resilience and the value of limitation. A year ago, people suddenly found themselves in a new situation of isolation, restriction, fear, and sometimes illness. All around them, economic and social systems that had been taken for granted seemed uncertain and precarious. This brought fear instincts. it occurred to me that we needed to explore the value of limitation, to try to feel freedom within restriction, rather than become victims to it. We all have restrictions. So in a movement workshop on Zoom called Proportions in Motion, I asked, how can I cultivate a sense of what is just necessary? How can I give value to limitation? How can I enjoy it and allow limitation to stimulate my creativity, to open up new ways of perceiving the world and of myself in that world? We spent the day exploring these issues through movement, for example, by moving in very limited space to explore how inventive, how creative we could be. This began to open up new choices, and we moved differently. We began to change our habitual attitudes, slowly, of looking for more, of always wanting more, and began to find a sense of satisfaction, of being and having enough. Looking near, as Prapto might say. See what you already have, and please build from there. Similarly, when we were suddenly told to stay at home, it seemed a good opportunity to encourage people to give value to staying as a creative opportunity, to take the chance to understand themselves in their environment more intimately, so they could begin to appreciate that staying can make local communities stronger and help people to care for each other, especially where the government cannot do so. This was very important in the UK, where our communities have become much stronger. In a workshop called Going and Staying, I asked each participant to find somewhere they could move and to arrange their camera so that we could see each other moving. I set movement tasks in pairs and also set movement tasks which people did off Zoom, and they then came back to share their experiences. This hybrid approach was to encourage us to stay connected to ourselves, to our actual environments, and from there to be able to include and to incorporate each other through the virtual environment of Zoom. We were following one of the basic principles of Omerta movement, which is first to relax, then receive myself in my environment, and only then to receive the other people in that environment. This helps me to find my ground. This approach also helped to relax the absorption that can happen on Zoom, where we focus so much on the screen and on other faces that we can forget our own environment. These two workshops gave people somatic references and reference points to notice how they were responding to the challenges of lockdown. They helped participants to see that we need to do less, to consume less, and to remember that we have exhausted natural resources and we need to change our attitudes and our habits to recognize the necessary planetary limits if we are to survive as a species. Second, resilience through a sense of community. How could I support a sense of community in a digital or virtual world with so many of us in isolation? I established a regular time for sharing movement practice, followed by meditation for those who wish to do so, each in their own tradition. I called these sessions What's Arising. Many said it became an anchor for them in the week, a clear point of reference. Each of us was paying attention to our own embodied process in our own place, but together sharing time and space. There was very little talking. I asked everyone to keep their sound on so we could feel more connected through the various soundscapes, the wind in Germany, the birds in Ireland, my own actual soundscape. I was one part of the situation, not teaching, and this gave me a different freedom. My experience was that both in movement and in meditation, it's possible to communicate and to support each other non-verbally in a way that is deeply reassuring and helpful. Movement incorporates many layers of experience at the same time. For example, sadness, joy, fear, excitement, acceptance, resistance. It's the joy of a pre-verbal or non-verbal medium, like movement, that it can hold many realities and many descriptions at the same time. By recognizing this complexity and refusing to become two-dimensional or flat, we can both see and be seen by others on Zoom. We can both sense and be sensed by others, and this is deeply healing. I can allow myself to be in my vulnerable moments. We can share our human condition in a pandemic without fear or shame or needing to apologize as we face the unknown together. Another question that arose was through resilience and sharing atmosphere, my third point. How can we feel and respond to a shared atmosphere over Zoom? In a project called Beyond Flat, a group of 6 of us offered guided practice to the international Omerta movement community on Zoom. We spent 12 weeks exploring ways to stimulate and support embodied practice, specifically within the environment of Zoom. This led us to explore how to relax, adapt, and tune in on Zoom. How we could work with the Zoom box frame, making framing a visual and an aesthetic practice. We practiced naming what we noticed as we moved as a way of sharing our direct experience with others. We paid attention to our tone of voice as an embodied intervention. We worked with objects to create a living composition to move in. And we explored how to be aware of atmosphere online by paying attention to how we each move in our own environment, while being aware of the other's environment. To give a slight example.
Right through to the fingertips, right through to the toes. The body is alive. Space is alive. We are, thanks be, alive. And we can move with that life.
So that just gives a little bit of the idea of 40 to 60 people sharing movement practice together in a way of communicating without words. This attention to the medium of communication as a shared environment offered us many ways of sensing each other, gave us different points of view, and enlivened the virtual experience of embodied practice.
Excuse
it
me,
also
Sandra?
allowed us to share, yes.
You have 5 minutes left. I hate to say this.
That's great. Thank you very much. No problem. And enlivened the virtual experience of embodied practice. It also allowed us to share together the atmosphere of an international community, even though we were separated by hundreds or thousands of miles. My fourth point is, how can we stimulate individual creativity as evolution in community as a source of health and resilience? Prapta said, creation is never ending and has the quality of blossoming in the garden. I put myself in creation itself as evolution, rather than creativity being just one part of evolution. In a 5-day Zoom course called Strata, Autobiographical Movement, I invited participants to work with a life question, moving in very different environments. Usually in real life, we move from the top of the hill down through a wood and down to a valley to the beach. Participants choose one place from that journey to work on a movement ritual or performance. On the final day, the whole group travels from the top of the hill down to the beach, and along the way, we visit each person's chosen spot to witness their 15-minute movement crystallization. This creates a strong sense of each individual being valued and seen within that temporary community, as well as us all sharing the journey and a common purpose together. The gift of Zoom was that people could take this journey in their own homes and have the experience of moving in places that held many memories and associations for them. I translated the environments by asking the group to work for one day in their kitchen, which is a space that can hold a communal reference, then in an outdoor space, and finally somewhere else in their house. The final day of this workshop offered a sense of community, joy, excitement, creativity, and communication as we witnessed each other's movement work and perceived each person within their unique environment. We had shared something of ourselves, of our immediate experiences in lockdown, of our homes, and we had shared a creative process over 5 days, which could resource us and help us to adapt to our new situations. Our creative process had brought change and transformation for each of us. Our interconnections gave us a sense of volume and fullness. The recognition of creativity as an essential part of our lives and of our desire to grow and to blossom, despite the horrors of the pandemic, were very clear. To finish with, in the last few minutes, as I reflect on these 4 themes that emerged through movements: exploring resilience through giving value to limitation, through sharing movement practice with others, through sharing atmosphere, and through creativity as evolution, I am struck by the need to follow my own creative path within a shared sense of community. Perhaps there is immunity through community. And at the same time, I'm struck by the need for me to cultivate a space of stillness and presence within movement, and by the need to witness the never-ending arising of embodied associations and memories that I often believe to be myself, whilst I also relax any fixed or determined sense of myself, the self that so often experiences pain, frustration, disappointment, and limitation in the face of multiple crises caused by COVID-19 and by the growing climate and ecological emergencies. I would like to leave and close my offering here by sharing a photo of one of the last movement sessions that we shared together. See if I can find it. And that's just an image of us sharing a final moment and bringing something to the screen to share with each other that kept us feeling connected during this pandemic. So may I say thank you once again. May I say matur nuwun, and many thanks for letting me participate in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandra Reeve from the University of Exeter, the United Kingdom. It's very interesting about the power of movement. Okay, well, we shall continue to the next speaker. Let me invite the next speaker, Professor Josaphat Tetuko from Chiba University, Japan. However, before we proceed to the next speaker, I would like to remind the audience, the whole participants, if you want to raise a question, please don't forget to state to whom your question is addressed. All right, let me briefly read the biography of Professor Josaphat. It's very interesting, especially in the narration of his biography. Josaphat Tetuko Sri Sumantyo was born at Sulaiman Special Force Air Base, Indonesian National Air Force Hospital in Bandung, West Java, Indonesia, on June 25, 1970. Tetuko was born from father who worked as commando instructor at Kopasgat or Kopashas of the Indonesian Air Force and grew up in the Air Force of Adi Sumarmo Air Base in Sulu City. When Tetuko became the age of 5, he often visited his father's workplace and asked about various radars used by the Indonesian Air Force at the time. Unfortunately, many of the radar products were imported from foreign countries. Therefore, he promised his father to develop a new radar that was more advanced and produced by our own nation and can protect our country. Josh, as he was usually called, wants to reach his dream to develop radar for humanitarian, environmental, and secure national territories. And regarding his education, Professor Josaphat completed his Bachelor in Engineering on Subsurface Radar in Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Kanazawa University. And then regarding his master degree, he accomplished in Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the same university, Kanazawa, Master of Engineering in Subsurface Radar. And he accomplished his Ph.D. in Radar System and Application. He obtained from Graduate School of Natural Science and Technology, Chiba University, Japan. Please welcome Professor Josaphat Tetuko Sri Sumantyo, Ph.D. You have about 20 minutes, sir, and I will remind you when you have 5 minutes left. The floor is yours now.
Yeah. Thank you very much to moderator. You can see my slide?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, for the introduction. Yes. First is I want to thanks to the committee, especially Professor Sahid that invited me to give the talk. Yes, actually, my field is on the radar. Yes, it's not on the culture, but I want to explain about my experience. Yes, actually, from my name is, I think you know that I am as a Javanese. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Today I will give the talk. Yes, entitled is building mental and spiritual immunity in facing the COVID-19 pandemic based on Javanese custom. Yes, actually I'm living in Japan. Yes, especially in Chiba. It's close to the Tokyo for 30 years, more than 30 years. And yes, I left Solo. Yes, in 1990. Yes, but yes, 30 years ago. And yes, actually, from last year, I'm also to be the professor in a Department of Electrical Engineering of the 11 Maret University. Yeah, now I'm a professor in Chiba University, especially in a Center for Environmental Remote Sensing, and I'm managing the Josaphat Microwave Remote Sensing Laboratory, or JMRSL. Okay, this is I'll skip, and maybe you can find about me more detail in some of like the TV program in the Kick Andy, or also in a Japanese government magazine or website. And last year, I'm one of the representative of the researcher for the space engineering. Yes, and you can find it. This is introduction of about what I did. Yes, and the legacy of my technology, like already mentioned by the moderator, I developed some radar from the space and planetary. Yes, it's not just for the Earth, but I also observe for the Moon and Venus and also the Mars. Yeah, and yes, now we have the problem in our Earth about the Corona-19. Yeah, I think if in the future we move to another planet, yes, like the Mars or not, for example, Venus or another planet, I think we also have the same problem. So in this case, we need to do something, the best one to save our life. Yes, and in this case, yes, even during the COVID, I'm working very hard, yeah, to develop many sensor. Yes, for the drone. This is my drone. Yes, Josaphat microwave remote sensing experimental drone. It is I think a big drone, and also I developed the satellite like shown here. Yes, and also the radar for the CN235 of the Indonesian aircraft, and the name, it is in the Tutuko, same with my name. Yeah, and then also from the Boeing 737. I will introduce later about this research using the video. And I think you can see here, it is the number of the patient of the infected by the COVID. Yeah, and yes, unfortunately, United States is about 30 million people already infected, and Indonesia is about 1.5 million. Even 1.5, it is a big number. Yes, and I think we can, we must more carefully, yes, to stop. It's possible to stop the spreading of this COVID in Indonesia. Yes, Indonesia is, I think, is very fast. You get the vaccine, but unfortunately in Japan it's very slow. Yes, and it's very careful. Yes, in this case, maybe we will get the vaccine is around July or maybe around September. Yes, for even I'm as the professor here is we will get this very late. Yeah. Okay, and it is the situation in Japan. Yes, I'm living in Chiba. It is close to the Narita airport and the Tokyo. Yes, and you can see here the Tokyo is around 123,000 people. Yes, infected, and Chiba is number 5 here. Yes, around 30. Yeah, 30,000 people infected, and in more detail, you can see here. 2 weeks ago, yes, Japanese government just opened, yes, or released the lockdown. Yeah, but unfortunately, now is gradually increasing again, and to be the number 4 of the wave of the infected of this, and I think next July, August, we have the Tokyo Olympics. Yes, it is a very big problem. Yeah, and then yes, unfortunately, the foreigner cannot come or visit Tokyo. Yes, and it is forbidden to come here. Even you want to support your team, it is also it's not allowed. Yeah, and I think it's the most sadness Olympic in the history. Yeah, but it is no problem. We want to save our life and to keep our life, and we can continue to struggle this COVID. Yeah, and okay, I think it's some sadness, including myself. Yes, about 4 of my friends passed away, infected by the this COVID itself. But we need to careful, and I hope you can, within 1 year, yes, we cannot go somewhere. Yes, and actually, if I'm in the normal situation, I'm always visit Indonesia almost every week. Yes, I go to Indonesia and then visit and give some lecture. But unfortunately, you cannot. Yeah, but now is like today we can share our knowledge using the online. It is also one of the good or best alternative to sharing and communicate with all of you. Okay, it is, but let's consider the good thing. Yes, that during the COVID, yes, we have a plenty of time. Yes, and in my case, yes, I learned many, yeah, including the Javanese. Yes, also the culture of the Javanese, and also I'm also learn the Korean language and what is Hebrew, yes, on the Israel language, and I learned many. Yeah, at least as I know about the English or Japanese, and yes, of course I use every day in here, yeah, and also Indonesia. But unfortunately, we don't know about the Javanese. Yes, Java. Yes, it is a good time to me to learn about the Javanese. But you can see here. Yes, I think it's Java. Yes, or Javanese. It's I think it's good. What is a very nice culture. We are the Javanese, and we must learn about the Javanese. Yes, and I think it's the culture itself is the physic or non-physic. Yes, inside here is you can learn many. Yes, about the some religious what is things. Yes, or the characteristic and culture and the norm. Yes, and also the traditional custom of the Java. Yeah, and then I'm living in Japan for 30 years, and when I learn about the Japanese, yes, it is some of the what is nilai. Yes, it is some culture of the Japanese also similar. Yes, and especially how to keep the balance. Yes, a balance of our life and communication with another people, and how to keep what is a relation. Yes, it is very important in Japanese, also in Javanese. Yeah? And the trust is very important, and I think also in Javanese also important. So, and then if you can keep the balance and trust, I think you will have a very strong network. Yeah, and it is especially for the young people of Indonesia, and especially in the Javanese. Yes, please keep the always balance, and to get the trust, and also please try to build the strong network in your life. Yeah, and yes, I think it's this this culture is, I think is we can keep and we can continue from your parents or your grandmother or grandfather, and you can continue for your son. In my case, I have my son, and now is in the university, and I'm even he born here in Japan, and he don't know about the culture of the Javanese, but at least in my house, inside my house is we must talk in Javanese and Indonesian, but and outside is we always talk in Japanese and English. Yeah, but also please try to keep, and it is some of the Javanese people characteristic, and it is nice. What is right or not is just based on my my point. Yeah, and first is I want to talk later is about the Javanese is like to menyapa, yes, to salute, and it is, I think, it's very polite, and also keep the family, and also the keep the distance with many people. Yes, it is just some of the Javanese culture, and we always keep this one, including me. Yes, I'm very close with, for example, Professor Sahid, but I'm also keep the some distance about when we want to communicate and something. Yeah, I'm always still keep the culture. Yes, when I talk or communicate with Professor Sahid or another people with Indonesian, yeah, including some minister. Yes, like 2 weeks ago I met with Pak Prabowo. Yes, and the M.Hum. Yes, it is also we must keep. Even I'm we are friends. Yeah. Okay, and then mengasah hati and diri, and I think many great
culture of the Javanese, and I learned many, yes, about the some what is like what is pangkur or something, yes, and I will show you later, yes, but some part of the song is very nice song, yeah, and I think is if you are living at outside overseas, I think is you will missing, yeah, very missed, yeah, with the culture of the Javanese. It is if I compare with the Japanese, it is almost same. Yes, it's very hard people. Yes, it is Japanese and Javanese also same. Yeah, and very polite, and we talk is very polite using the Japanese or Javanese, and we also have the the rank of the language itself. But it is something is different. Yeah, Japanese people is don't like together. Yes, together is I think it's just 3 or 4 people. Yes, but it's many people is no. Yeah, but Japanese is different. Japanese is like to gather together and almost every week to make the party or eat together at outside. Yeah, but Japanese is different because we need to keep the distance. Yeah, and also Japanese people is don't like like the flow in the water, but because they are very working hard and very mind to to make the plan and do the plan as best as possible. They cannot do out of the plan. Yeah, but Japanese is it is more flexible. We can do it's very flexible to do. If something you get some opinion from other people, you will thinking, oh, maybe win-win solution. Yes, we do to keep the balance with another people. Yeah, and the other one is nrimo. Yes, but nrimo. Japanese is not nrimo. Yeah, they will do and realize. Yes, and to do the best. Yes, it's not mangan orang mangan ngumpul. It's no. Yes, in Japanese is we need we need to working hard. And then for mangan, yes, to eat. Yes. Okay, this is some of culture, yes, between Javanese and Japanese. Yeah, because I'm living almost half, but right now I think it's more longer living in Japan. Yeah. Okay, and it is part. Yes, it is very interesting because the Javanese and Japanese. Yeah, you can see here it is in the Japanese one. Yeah. If you want to give the salute, yes, or greeting, it's just some degree, yes, around 15 degree, yeah. But if you want to give the salute, as for example, some guest is come to your office, you can give the salute with 30 degree, yeah, and then more salute is about 45 degree. But if you want to apologize, it is around 70 degree, yeah, because in Japan it have the samurai period. Yes, if you want to you made the false or mistake, is you must give your sword. It means you must kill. Yeah, in this case is you must give 70 degree. Yeah, and in Japan, if you do something wrong, yes, is the first thing you must do is to apologize. Yes, even you do right thing, but sometimes it's not it's not your what is your friend or another people is not agree with you. In this case, is all of people is must apologize together, and then we talk again. Yes, it is the custom here. And
excuse me, Pak Josafat.
Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Yes, and the Javanese is also the same. If you give the, through some people, especially for the elder people, is you must, give. In this case, is about 30 degree. It means salute. Yeah, it is almost same. Yes, and to make the distance in Japan, I think in Javanese is, to shake hand. It is also is not our culture. I think it's to save the COVID is don't shake hand, and it is not our culture. Yeah, it is the Japanese and Javanese culture. Yeah, okay, and keep the distance. It is a custom in Japan and Japanese is same. When the man and girl walking, it is keep the the distance. It is, it is also our custom. Yes, it is. We can keep for the future to save the, the COVID. And it is some of the you can learn here is many content. Yes. Especially we must working hard. We must, prihatin, yes. And in the nighttime and in the daytime, you must working. In my case, yes, I just sleep every day 2 hours or 3 hours. Yes, because I work hard. Okay. Maybe I want to skip it because this is very long. Yeah. And in my case, as the scientist, I must do something. Yeah. During my, the COVID, in this case is, I'm always do like this one. Yes. If I have invention, yes, I must take, register the patent first. Yes. And including, I think, many of the Javanese culture and technology, you can, take the patents. Yes. And after the patent is, you must, publish the peer review paper before you publish in the conference. Yes. And then publish in the community, write the books. And I think if you get a very nice research content, you can get the award. Yes. And in the future, yes, you can apply for the research grant. And it is my work. Yes, I'm developing the radar system. Yes, it is CN235, and I put in this 235, and it is, my radar can penetrate the cloud, haze, and the mist. Yes, and then you can, for example, it is I flew in Makassar city. Even there's many cloud, and I can through this the cloud and get a very nice images. And this is we can use for to observe the illegal fishing, like now is in the northern Natuna. Yeah, and also for the border observation. We can operate in the nighttime. Yes, and then yes, for the terrorist observation, and also for the boundary observation, and then for the guard, yes, of Indonesia. And it is like mentioned by the moderator, it is my dream in when I'm 5 years old, and I want to make the radar for my father, and I'm already realized the it is for the Indonesian airborne. Yeah, I hope in the future, all of the Indonesian airborne can use my radar, and we want to put in the satellite, and we want to observe whole of this Earth, yes, and also for other planets like the Mars and Venus. Yeah. Okay, and it is the spirit of my laboratory. You can read here in English and also Japanese and Indonesia. Yeah, and it is all of the spirit is from Javanese. Yes, a Javanese culture. You can read here. Yeah, and it is like yes, we must know about harga diri kita. Yeah, and then sopan and spirit of the positive. And always positive thinking, and we must stand up soon from the fail and lose. It is also the Javanese, yeah. And please consider another people just the good side, yeah. And the other one is collecting the strength and advantage is of ourselves and other people, and gaining self confidence and optimistic and forwarding, looking for the future. Laboratory, college, and friend are the treasure. Please clip this one. If you're angry, it is as in the Javanese, yes, especially in Japan. If you are angry, please stop. Yes, don't angry. Yes, like in here is as in the professor, we cannot angry. If you are angry, is academic harassment. Yeah, it is it's very serious in Japan. Yes, so in this case, is if you can control your angry, it is you can to be the professor. Okay, and it is the publication in my laboratory. You can see here since 1996. Yes, when I'm a bachelor. Yes, and it is a peer review paper invited talk conference, and you can see in the conference after the COVID is almost many conferences stopped. So in this case, we reduce the publication, but the invited talk is increased. Yes, especially it is online. Yes, it is increase of the invited talk, and the peer review paper is okay. Yes, we can almost keep. Every year is about 5 paper in IEEE or many famous journal. It is we can keep around more than 5 paper. Yes, I think this is great. Yeah. And this is my last advice. Yeah, please keep the time as best as possible during the COVID-19, and then increasing the productivity of our research and education. Especially, I'm promoting also the double degree program, and also in the short term and long term, send the exchange program. And then also, please consider always we must contribute ourselves for the world, and especially in the Indonesia. And the last one is please keep healthy, and let's save our soul, yes, and our friend. And then I hope we can solve the COVID as soon as possible, and then we can meet again at Solo. Yes. Okay, thank you very much for the time and attention. Yes, please, if you visit Tokyo or Narita Airport and Haneda Airport, please stop over in my laboratory or my home. Yes, this is just 45 minutes. Yes, from the airport. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, and keep healthy. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Josaphat.
Yeah.
That's awesome, really, and congratulations for your big achievements. And of course, the things that you have just presented can motivate all of us to be more productive in the future.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the next session of the next speaker. I would like to invite the next speaker, Tresya Yuliana Fitri. Please get prepared. Let me introduce her by reading her short biography. Well, Tresya Yuliana Fitri accomplished her BA and Master of Arts degree from Collegium Civitas, Warsaw, Poland. She is well known as the director of Mandala Robotics, and she is also popular as the founder of Yoga Vaganza since 2014. Moreover, she is also the founder of Ionindo since 2016, advocating civil society values since 2011 in the areas of ethics, public administration, legal logic, collective leadership, immigration and citizenship, and diaspora issues with various institutions. Moreover, she is also skillful and has big interest in foreign languages. She masters English, Polish, German, Italian, and French for sure. Wow. All right, so please welcome Tresya Yuliana Fitri, MA. You have 20 minutes to present your paper, and I will give you a reminder in the last 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm glad to be here. I feel honored, and I welcome as well everyone, professors and participants. And I would like to open my session with a particular approach from yogic perspectives. From yogic habits in opening a class, which is with a Sanskrit mantra. This is for peace and harmony between parties that are involved in the sessions. If you wish, you can close your eyes. Om Sahana wawatu, sahanau ponaktu, sahawiryam karvavahe, tejashvinawadita mastu, ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti, 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 Om. Okay. Do I have my presentations, or maybe I have to share it by myself? Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, so I am very enchanted, if not to an extent actually obsessed with Budaya Ketawang. Yeah, this one. And the title is Budaya Ketawang from Yogic Perspectives, because I do not have any experience either on watching Budaya Ketawang live or dancing it. So I'd like to understand it. What is it? Actually, this dance that I heard from my childhood, but I've never seen at once. And it looks like really far away from me as a commoner in Java that has now interactions with the culture. And this dance is always mentioned, but I've never seen it. For many years, I've heard it, I've never seen it. So when I actually understand what is life from the yogic perspectives, then my wandering on that childhood curiosity eventually comes again in a way that, okay, I try to look at it in YouTube videos. And once I see it, I amazed in a way that this is so meditative, but as well seductive. It should be in the next slide. The part of why is it Budaya Ketawang? Yeah, this one is so theoretical. Actually, this is about movement and expressions, but the parts of the movement has been explained very well through the Dr. Sandra's explanations, and I really thank for that because I don't have to do the work. A really good explanation has been given, but then function is one part of our reality, but expressions in yogic perspectives is way more advanced if you speak on the chakras perspectives, because it concerns anything above your heart, but the real articulations is anything above your neck. And when the problem occurs above the heart to the neck, I mean in your spine, that we will understand that human has a real serious health problem. If everything below the heart, it's okay. And COVID-19, what is it about? People understand it as lungs problems, but it's actually more serious than that. Then this brings me to actually remembering what Budaya Ketawang is, why the movement is so slow. People don't understand it because they think it's monotonous or it's boring. But the other side, it is so sacred, it is so mystic, it is so ritualistic. And how to actually, the society itself, the Javanese needs to understand it. If not because of yogic knowledge, I will not understand it the way it has to be understood. But in my personal opinion, and it perhaps subjective, the creator of the dance does know what integration is, what holism is, and what yoga is. And I did some theoretical, next please. I did some theoretical pondering, philosophical pondering about this phenomenon. However, what is it actually in the state of the art, if I could borrow that term here? There are not only Budaya Ketawang, okay? There are Budaya or Bedoyo, and there are Budaya. Though in reality, how do they work? How do they expressed in as a culture, as a phenomenon? I couldn't really describe it, what I describe here is only parts of my observation on comparing lots of interpretations of Bedoyo. And I am teaching movement, yes, but when I speak about something, I really like to ponder on philosophy and on theories. However, when it comes to implementation, like what Dr. Sandra's, if you remember Dr. Sandra's explanation on it, this is exactly that. You have to be very good with your movement in order to master whatever it is, philosophical or theoretical. Movement is the basic. I fully agree. Then expression comes naturally. Now, in one of research that I found that some westernized elements are involved in this category of bedayan as a phenomenon, okay? While Bedoyo still keeps some basic movement. And it's about the movement of Budaya Ketawang that is very important for me to really understanding it in the theoretical perspective that I use, that is Laban efforts. So the theory of Laban, I come across because I realized that I don't move the same as the majority. I don't do sport the same way as the majority. Yoga teaches me totally differently. And as Dr. Sandra's put it, in limited space, you have to be able to be content only with that mat and see how you can actually move. Even in my small kitchen, I dance, I kick, I jump in 2 meters time, 90 centimeters, and that's okay. I can handle that. And exactly, this is answer the question. If actually, yes, there's westernized modifications. That's why I try to analyze it through Laban efforts. Is it westernized or is it just about degrees of angles of joints, because we have these joints, yeah? And human joints can really move everywhere, right? I mean, along its natural anatomical competence. But the expression is something else that when it comes to expression, we can call it esoteric, we can call it oriental, we can call it occidental or westernized. It's the expression, but the movement is basic. It should be universal because we are human. Next slide, please. Thank you. The significance. Yeah. Why even I wonder about it? First, if it is something hard to understand by our logic, then it's something intangible. And these two aspects, it's about existence, something tangible, movement that we can see, movement that we cannot see. Our breathing is part of the movement. We can see something move, but we cannot see why it is moving. What makes it moving? The air we cannot see. So this makes me thinking if actually Budaya Ketawang should be put on the list of safeguarding intangible cultural heritage. I've checked the list in the UNESCO's list 2020 and 2021. We do not have this. Okay, we do not have Budaya Ketawang put it into that list, but we do have Pencaksilat, we do have gamelan, and batik is earliest. And the second is wellness special creation. The wellness special creation is very important for local society. And in today's limitations, this can be very much doable. Through Zoom, people can listen to the music. When I wrote my paper, actually I listened to the music, to Budaya Ketawang, Pangkur, and some other types, Uyun-Uyun, Sabto, which I found that very meditative. This Budaya Uyun-Uyun, Budaya Uyun-Uyun is very meditative, really on its own class on music, but I limited only to movement, not music, not customs, not ornaments or clothing from the Budaya Ketawang aspect. Next, please. And the method that I use for this study or observation is theoretical analysis, something that I like to ponder, observations through YouTube videos because I am limited only to that extent up to that moment, and terminological analysis. And this is the huge things, I think, more on terminological analysis. The theory, I will not, method and theory, I will not discuss deeply here. More on terminology and the observation of the movement system. Please, next. Yeah, if you wonder if this is my photo, yes, this is my, because I don't have to ask permission for using my own photo, right? And yeah, I give that that pose. I intended to show how is it balancing look like. This is still a balance on two stands, my leg and my hand, right? And this is dealing with one of the theory that I use, which is not common in mainstream praxeology, or the logic of human action. What is it actually that human is doing something? Why do they do the way they do? Yeah, why even I train this way, not the other way? And why I stick with that training for really decades, like 20 years. So this is the logic that I am using. And when it comes to function, it can be defined as process of completion. You need to do whatever it takes to bring it into balance. So in order to do that pose, I really need to work with my stomach properly. Yeah, to lock it. And this locking is very high skill in yogic educations for asanas or positions, system of positions. While expressions is formations of finite processes of elements, symbols, functions, variables, everything that you can put into that, and people can see it and can feel it. With human, this is something. It can be felt. Expression can be felt. And that is what is strong about being, about living beings. And that's why it is very interesting. And it's of high competence in human system based on yogic chakras. No, I would say yogic perspectives of what a human is. And it's different than what generally we will understand. And next, please. Yeah, there is one question, but later we will address the question. This is the terminological analysis. When I try to understand my own culture, I really try to understand how the language functions. Maybe I am influenced by Wittgenstein's work on language or some other experts in that area, and this is a part of my obsession. I need to understand it. Why the word is that? Yeah, bedo. Tapi, but sorry, it is spelled now as bedo, I believe, not beda or bedo, as supposed to be in Sanskrit. And this is normal with the evolutions of language through whether historical or current use. However, if I follow Wittgenstein's theory, then it should be what it is used by the society that is matters. However, I am interested in theoretically to understand why is that the name. Bid, yeah, is the root. Like Indonesian has a root, Sanskrit as well has a root. So it is the process of breaking of parts, disunity, indicating something different, indicating a degree of persuasion or seductiveness. And then beda is the same, bedayat, to win over, to seduce, to split, to unsettle, to perplex, to set of variance. Even if it is spelled differently like bedoyo, it's actually still convey the meaning. If we look at the dance, it is still conveying the meaning perfectly as it should be based on the evolution of the language. This is Sanskrit, considered to be a dead language. Do I disagree? Because in yoga, we still use that as the mantra I mentioned before, and mentioning that one part that sahanawawatu, sahanabonatu, sahawiryam karvavahai tejasvina waditamastu. That we go into that word tamas. Okay, why are we even dealing with particular way of moving? Why even we don't just move the way we want it? That because of this nature of energy. I do not mention it in the article. However, there is the theory that I refer, polyvagal theories, that concern with the number 10 of our nerves that very vast in our body that control these internal organs inside. And the way we move will define how that nerve is actually activated, and wrongly activated will create a different pathways of hormone system. And we have to be really careful with how we move. Next, please. Yeah, I mentioned already about tamas, yeah, the nature of energy. This is the one that is heavy, and it is controlled in the very ancient part of our brain system of the evolutions of human cells. And I would like to understand it through this high theory in yoga, concentrations, because this is part of high school, right? For concentrating, human goes into movement first as the basic. The movement must be good, must be well thought, and then go to the breathing after that, and then concentration. This is the part of dharana and dhyana. But before that,
Excuse me, but Teresa, you have 5 minutes left, please.
Thank you very much. Vrittis, yeah, the state of our mind that, as we know, daily we have these things, but we're not going to explain this, okay? This is far away from our realities, this part. We have this is possible for us. Vrittis, dharana, dhyana. This is lots of states that concern with sleep, memories, things that we remember, with anger, with wrong perception, with what we understand as something but it's not. Next, please. Yeah, this one that I mentioned, elementary. That's why it is possible. Dharana, and then dhyana is a continuous. If you achieve dhyana, then you can dance like Bedaya, perhaps. Okay, next, please. Ketawang, special to Ketawang. Okay, as a totally different phenomenon than Bedaya, Bedoyo, or Bedayan. Yeah, this is the state that I'm talking about. The Vrittis, the 5 state. Nidra is sleeping. Smartaya is memory. And memory is really something that is tough to handle in human life. And then the rest, we don't have to worry. Please, next. And this is actually, in order for me to conclude if the movement is universal for all human, I use this chart. So movement has natures, okay? And it has to be able to be seen. Is it integrated by character or not? And my studies show that it is, right? In particular with the nature of the movement, like weak, unstressed, slow, okay, going, continuous, and complete. So it is indicating that it's of high order of mental life, it's of meditative nature, because movement is limited, so that people think it is monotonous. But actually, because it's concentrating, and concentration is not compatible with movement, the higher the concentration, the less a person wants to move. That's why it's one type of movement repeated like many times. Next, please. So this can help me to conclude actually that whether or not the westernization has occurred in Bedoyo in general, I see really some ballet stance being used in Bedoyo. Bedoyo stance is very functional. Even the stance like squatting, it is used in Bedoyo, and it is universal, even sport use, because in this stance, a person can really do lots of movement, very economical, very efficient. So changing it into different stance, like here, if this is your feet, Bedoyo has this stance in order to move forward or backward, and it's easy, it's economical, it's logical. But there are some stance that in Bedoyo, I think, not in Ketawang, in different modification, they use this stance, okay? And this, if one wants to move forward with the leg, it is limited only into certain type of movement. That's why this is very universal in all human beings everywhere. This is the first conclusion. And then the second, as I repeated before, indications of high order mental life or yogic influence, if I check with, for example, the era of Kertanegara from one source, that really the Javanese kings were yogic by nature. But it's not hatha yoga or yoga that teaches positions like people understand it today, but yoga of different nature like bhakti, which is devotions, love for God, and then karma, service, to understand why the Japanese mates are really obedient, because they are karma yogis by heart. They don't understand this, but they do this quality, they show this quality. And then, of course, this yoga of concentration, Raja Yoga, that practiced by the kings, exactly, because it's the highest of yoga. And this is shown by the art that they produce, the language that they speak, and other cultural products, even like batik, it's part of meditation. Thank you very much. And I close it with appreciations for the program, for the committee. It was my pleasure.
Thank you very much to Tresia Juliana Fitri with such an excellent presentation, and it gives us a new insight to the new innovation. Right. All right, let's continue to the next speaker. I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Novel Anak Lyndon. Hello, Dr. Novel.
Yeah, hello. Very good evening. How are you?
Hi.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm fine. Yeah, okay. Well, please get prepared for your presentation. Meanwhile, please allow me to introduce you to the audience first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Dr. Novel Anak Lyndon is an associate professor in Anthropology and Sociology Program, Center for Development, Social and Environment, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. He specializes in community development and social anthropology. His current research interests are poverty, issues in palm oil industry, regional development in Sarawak, minority ethnic group in Sarawak, national cultural policy, unity, and national integration, and issues on low-income group. Currently, he is the editor-in-chief of E-Bangi Journal under UKM Publishers and head of Publishing Committee, Center for Development, Social and Environment. He was previously invited as a keynote speaker by Juanda Universitas Bogor, Indonesia in 2017 and 2020 on the issue of oil palm smallholders and land ownership issues. He has published many articles in journals indexed by Scopus, ISI, and chapters in books on the issue of oil palm smallholders, especially in involving the indigenous communities of Sarawak, Sabah, and the Orang Asli, the origins. He has also collaborated with MPOB, Malaysian Palm Oil Board, SALCRA, Sarawak Land Consolidation and Rehabilitation Authority, FELJA, Federal Land Development Authority, and Sime Darby Plantation in conducting studies on the development of native land through oil palm cultivation, empowerment of oil palm smallholders, and study of the impact of oil palm on the quality of life of rural communities, especially in Sarawak and Sabah. Well, now Professor Dr. Anak Novel Lyndon, the time is yours. You have about 20 minutes, sir.
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And then I would like to express my congratulations to the organizer, especially to my close friend, Professor Sahid Teguh Widodo, because he's conducting a very good and very excellent conference, And I also would like to express my sincere and gratitude to the Rector and the Director of the Universitas 11 Maret for organizing very brilliant and very good teams that is very close to our heart. Anyhow, the topic of my discussion today is I'm talking about the border. Can I want to sharing my PowerPoint, yeah, the organizer, yeah. No. I think this topic is very close and very significant when we're talking about COVID-19. In Malaysia, the COVID-19 cases is reduced, and then the cases also not only become pandemic, but also now is in endemics, meaning that it's involved the community. Yeah. So then we have the immunization program in February by our Prime Minister Tan Sri Yassin's. Then we start the programs since February, because most of them take the first dose, then following by the second doses, and then we'll go to the frontliner will took the first doses and second doses, yeah, the first dose and second doses. Okay. Anyhow, as what the previous presenter talking about, they all concerns about COVID-19, yeah, and then when we're talking about COVID-19, we always talking about the vaccine, and also we are talking about the what we call physical distancing. So these are two themes that is very important when we're talking about COVID-19. So with a lot of SOPs and a procedure from the governments, from the community leaders, NGOs, all of us are concerned about the COVID-19, yeah, because it's not only affect our life, but at the same time it give a highly impact to our economics and our relationship, and also the function of the family itself. So anyhow, my main concerns is about the border, yeah, because border is very important in order to protect our community, especially during COVID-19, especially during the pandemic COVID-19, because as you know, COVID-19 is spread, yeah, because it's born air, okay. So now, why border is very important? It's not only talking about, we're not only talking about the COVID-19, but at the same time we also talking about the human trafficking. We're talking about drug dealers. We're talking about crimes. We're talking about prostitution. So a lot of things can we discuss when we talk about the border in between Malaysia and Indonesia, especially and also border between Malaysia and Thailand, border between Malaysia and Philippines, so border between Malaysia and Singapore. So this is the main focus of my discussion for today. So first of all, I would like to understand what is the worldview of illegal immigrants. So we are looking from the illegal immigrants' point of view, what they think about the internal border control, especially from Malaysian governments. Okay, next. So as we know, the number of illegal immigrants has proliferated significantly since 1970s. So it's due to the industrialization and also the urbanization and the demand from the factories and also the demand from the from the agriculture, especially from the those involved in palm oil industry, and also in its constructions, mining, so on, and others. Now, so nonetheless, the statistics shows that 1.991 millions of illegals immigrants on 2005 has increased to 3.43 millions on 2019, in that most of them are from Indonesia. So if I'm talking about the Malaysian scenario, and then once they slip into the territory, border enforcement can no longer be executed on them, but internal border control. So as you know, the border control is very important in order to reduce the statisticals of immigrants. Yeah. Now that's why the main purpose of this study is to broaden the national border concept and to go beyond the traditional definition by inserting the worldview. So from specific groups on internal border controls. So next, yeah. Next. Yeah. I'm talking about the Malay archipelago in Southeast Asia. Yeah. So previous researchers of Malays origin source that Malaysia and Indonesia are deeply rooted with similar history. When Austronesian speakers identified them as Malays who inhabited Nusantara since long ago. So that's why the words of Nusantara is very close to Malaysia, to Indonesia, to Thailand, to Singapore, to Vietnam, even also Cambodia. So the words of Nusantara is very inclusive. Okay? So some of the Indonesian made efforts to change Indonesia to Nusantara. However, Indonesia was chosen in 1945. This is about the history. Okay? Now the concept of Nusantara is defined as a Malay archipelago in Southeast Asia. So comprise Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, Timor-Leste, and Myanmar. So the word of Nusantara is very broad and then very specific. Then most of people says that the word of Nusantara can be seen as ASEAN countries. Yeah. Okay. Next. Yeah. No. This my methodology is a very simple methodology. Then we are looking on the phenomenology approach, which is very qualitative, meaning that we are using anthropology methods when we collecting the data, and if we have the in-depth interview. So we are trying to figure out that what is the point of view of the illegals or the enforcements on the illegals, immigrants, especially in Malaysia. So we are not talking about the immigrants from Thailand, but we are also talking about illegal immigrants from other countries as well. Okay, next, yeah. No. So this is my preliminary finding, because I'm still do the analysis and still write things, and then still analyzing the data. Now, what we find is a very interesting findings. You know, as we know, Malaysia dan Indonesia ni rumpunnya sama, kan? Betul tak Bapak, kan? Ya, rumpunnya sama dan sangat dekat, ya. Biasanya Indonesia ni abang, karena Malaysia ni adik, so hubungan tu sangat rapat, ya. We are very close, ya, each other, ya. Bukan saja dari segi budaya, tetapi juga dari segi nilai-nilai murni dan juga nilai-nilai tradisi, ya. That's why for me this conference is a very good themes then it makes us very closer, especially when we deal about the words, the concept of Nusantara, yeah, because it's very close to our heart. Now, what I'm finds from our study is, so we have the law enforcement and agent of socialization. So as we know, because of the economic demand and because of the industrialization process, the demand of the labor is very high, and it's sometimes interact a lot of people, a lot of citizens from around the world to come to Malaysia to work, whether in agriculture sector, manufacturing sector, tourism, and so on and so forth. So now, what is the main finding here is shows that there is something interesting happening in the law enforcement, because when we're talking about law enforcement, we are talking about integrity. How well or how integrity is the law enforcement in terms of integrity, yeah, and then how they're looking on the immigrant itself, because sometimes these immigrants, because we are sharing the same values, sharing the same culture, sometimes we have feeling as a friends, feeling as as a saudara, as a friends, as kawan-kawan. So we are very close. That's why it's hard to control the immigrants, yeah, because they are sharing same sentiments, yeah. So that's why the agents of socialization is very important, yeah, because the agent of socialization is including the peoples around along the border, and also the community along the border, because sometimes the border is very is defined as authority definition, but based on the everyday definition, there's no border, because the concept of border is from the authority defined, not from the every defined as what the community think about, meaning that there is a clash between authority and also between the community when they talk about the concept of border, because when the authority talking about border, they are talking about law, rule of law, but the community, when they're talking about border, they are talking about the split, pemisahan di antara community dengan community lain, sedangkan mereka ni bersaudara, sedangkan mereka ni ada hubungan keluarga misalnya. So itu yang menyebabkan masukar, is hard masukar untuk mengawal imigran, ya, sebab hubungan saudara itu sendiri, ya. That's why kadang-kadang sometimes that's why a lot of clash, a lot of conflict between governments and community, how to control the border, because the community border always looking themselves as a saudara, as a friends, as a relative, yeah. So now at the same time, so we find that there is a gap between law enforcement and community itself, because the law enforcement looking immigrants from rule of law, but the community itself looking the immigrant as a relative, as a friends. So that's why it's really hard to control the border, yeah. And at the same time, our border is very huge, so there is a lot of energy, a lot of manpower to control the Malaysian Indonesian border or Malaysian Thailand border. Now, next. Now, so the finding and discussion also, we are talking about the bribery, yeah, the bribery, and so also we're talking about the not committing crime, not afraid of law enforcement. So this is as usual, yeah? Because when we're talking about law enforcement, is sometimes is it's a very tough job, yeah. And then of course we need very highly integrity people's work in the law enforcement, yeah. So this is my our preliminary results, but what I'm trying to say is what we find is a very interesting finding is border from the eyes of the authority and the community which is staying in the border is totally different. What they look,
Excuse me,
what they think.
Dr. Excuse
Yeah.
me, Dr. Novel. You
Yeah.
have 5 minutes left.
Okay, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm trying to. Thank you. Okay. Jadi sebenarnya isu-isu border ni isu-isu yang isu melibatkan security, ya. That's why during the COVID-19, Malaysian governments really look seriously on the issue of immigrants because we are afraid, we are scared that the spreading of the COVID-19 to the community, especially among the border community. So that's why if you look on the news or in websites or in Facebook, so people's always talking about the border because border must be safe, border must be highly integrity and morality, ethics. So all we're talking about the border. So as what we understand, when we talk about border, we're talking about the actor. Who is the actor in the border? And at the same time, we're talking about the crimes, we're talking about the enforcement, we're talking about rule of law. So all these things can be concluded as a main issue when we're talking about the border. So I think next, yeah, I think and so at the same time, colleagues, neighbors, employers play an important role, yeah, when we trying to control our border. So all this, the three item is what I call it as agents of socialization, yeah, because the employers, colleges, and neighbors must work together with the governments to ensure that the Malaysian border is safe and it can be controlled, and most of the workers which are interested to come to Malaysia must be legal and also through the process of what we call rule of law. So I think that's all from my part. So I most welcome any question, and thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Novel, for having your presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are still encouraged to give your questions to the 5 speakers. Now we come to the final speaker now. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Sahid Teguh Widodo, M.Hum, Ph.D. Okay. Please, Prof. Sahid, prepare your presentation. Meanwhile, I'm going to introduce you to the audience. Sahid Teguh Widodo, Professor of Ethnolinguistics in the field of onomastics in 2014, is a senior researcher at the University Center of Excellence, or PUI Javanologi, or Javanese Tradition of 11 Maret University, or UNS. He actively researches classical Javanese manuscripts and Javanese cultural traditions, and vigorously establishes relationships with scientists and professionals from foreign countries and the Javanese diaspora. He received the Kanjeng Raden Tumenggung Award from the Kingdom of Surakarta. Currently, he serves as the head of PUI Javanologi UNS. Please welcome Prof. Sahid Teguh Widodo. You have about 20 minutes. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Please, my slide, please. Thank you to Dr. Yusuf as the moderator of this seminar, who gave me the time and opportunity to deliver a paper my paper entitled Sungsang, Recording the World Voice to Draw Innovation in Global Future Life. I am very happy to be in the midst of experts, scientists, observers, and the noble audience. My best regard to all speakers. That's true, I was very interested and got a lot of new things from presenter before me. Broadly speaking, I would like to summarize various expert opinions about the COVID-19 pandemic tragedy that is currently still ongoing. This simple paper tries to find and provide a positive viewpoint, reference, or if possible, inner grip, so that we will be stronger in facing this pagebluk. Pagebluk means like a pandemic COVID-19. Okay, let's get started. Next, please. Up until now, we still feel restlessness, worry, fear, and doubt. We are one step away before despair eventually comes. The COVID-19 pandemic has engraved such traumatic experiences that give us constant pain and grief. For God knows how long this uncertainty will be. How many souls have gone tragically because of this very pandemic? Next. Those who have never been diagnosed reactive or positive for COVID-19 experience such terrifying dreams and delusions of suffering. It is like choosing between stay alive or die. It is truly confusing because the axis between the spectral identity, real, and the uncertainly life, reality. Meanwhile, for the survivor of COVID-19, they felt like the heavy storm had passed. However, who and what has been sacrificed all this time? Next. And then I'm trying to record the public response. I always remember from the old Maoist doctrine, trust the people. The government should not silence the public voice in order to respect human rights. Speaking up away also be a way to reduce pain, erode injury, or provide a way to release. It is hard to forgive some people or organizations who are still trying to play around in this emergency, even though those parties seems obvious for us to notice. The voice should be heard louder to provide solutions and reclaim peace as the problem keeps increasing each day. And the third storm has peaked out and ready to punch on and hunch down our mental immunity, our belief and spirit of life. If so, is there anything left for us to wish for? This is a big question. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, in the following, I will present the recorded opinion of a world expert regarding the situation and condition, as well as what solution can be done. From Jamal Wiwoho, University of Maret, he said that our ancestors have taught us to be able to solve various problems together faithfully. Don't ever give up. We will get through this together, and life must go on. Together, from Professor Hailul Coleman from Leeds University, together as a world community, we will find a solution. From Mr. Merrick Bell from KTLV, he said that the pandemic has taught us about the importance of communication with each other, and how we can maintain contacts across border. Professor Lyndon said about the border too. Prof. George Quinn from NU, Australia, strengthening the government and health service. The current pandemic closes the economy and causes a crisis. From my dear friend, Dr. Diana Butler, the world's enlightener is the relay of union. All things are present within you. And then the last is the macrocosmos or the microcosmos. There is no difference. And we ever hear from Professor Josaphat. He said that let's continue to create new ideas in culture development, science, and technology. Don't give up, and let's do our best to our community to solve the pandemic by helping each other. From my friend, Professor Sunaina, saying, we should be as positive as possible. We need to move forward with all positivity, with dedication, commitment, responsibility, and diligence, and focused. So the last from Professor Hiroshi, he said that be careful by always sterilizing our hands and also wearing masks. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, we find 11 keywords. The first one is together. Don't ever give up. Builds communication, strengthening, crisis, self, the coordinate among the Rohani, body, God, and micro and macrocosmos. We find self, continue and create new ideas. Let's do the best, positive thinking, careful, support and work with each other. Next. So, the coronavirus does not only attack the physical health of human, but also the spiritual. Our perspective of the world around us and things as simple as interaction has changed completely regarding the relationship between our bodies and souls, and also its relation with micro and macrocosmos. Physical distancing, social distancing, the urgency to keep being healthy, work from home, stay at home, the appeal of personal discipline, such as don't touch your eyes, nose, and mouth, has openly corrected the values of politeness and social ethic which previously was upheld. Each of us who are accustomed and spoiled to the digital world are unconsciously getting worse by its hyperreality phenomenon toward the world virus, since it is already attached to the digital virus reference, which destroys the space of human imagination. It is hard to avoid hoax news because we are used to receiving news which we do not even know the truth. I mean, it's a big fire effect. How do we create innovation amid this caustic situation? The psychological burden of the pandemic COVID-19 is quite heavy. I can find 5 responses can be identified in a corrective field. The first one is rejection, what happened. Outrageous anger and distrust with what happened and up to the level of frustration. Effort and hope to still be given a chance to live. Depression, despairing, because it seemed like death is before us. And the last, dark hope. It is like waiting for the death penalty. Next. Life after COVID-19 pandemic can return to normal, but the new normal is going to be different. We will have to live more fragile life, accompanied by constant threat. See the CSEC 2020. Naturally, there will be a fear of learning a new way of life, especially if it is here and colored by various forms of new threats and the change in the whole nature of living being. It is a mind virus or parasite entity that might colonize human after COVID-19. The prolonged trauma to both the victim and the people around leave the some scared. We must immediately construct the real step even from the little fragment. We all agree not to rely on market panic, the rule of law, and market ethic. We can say that this is an independent innovation. We need that. The escort equipment and infrastructure still have narrow gaps to choose from independent innovation. Next. How we try to construct the innovation in global future life, in social system. Innovation that preserve the authentic values of the nation to maintain the growth of new horizons. In education system, innovation that ensure the public can utilize information technology to explore their respective local potentials. In public infrastructure area, innovation that guarantee the public can be accessed effectively and intelligently, information and communication, and use it wisely. In institutional and economic, innovation that warrant microeconomic stability, maybe it's case in Indonesia, yeah? Supervise competition, job availability, and life security. The last, identity of Indonesian ethic culture. I'm trying to look at an Indonesian case. Innovation on Indonesian ethic culture that characterize the national culture in the midst of a shattered globalism scenario. Next. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring out Semar in our reflection session. Calm your heart and mind. Keep all the worry, anxious, and fears away from your mind. Control your breathing and focus on the goal. Let's get started. Sirep kolo sungsang. Sirep means to end all suffering with certainty. Kolo means the nature of time that must be repaired or beautified. Sungsang means unusual event, circumstance. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean that as a reflection, we are on the same boat. I agree that. Together we strengthen each other without give up, lead to togetherness and sculpt creativity. do our best in facing a crisis, help each other to keep the ship afloat, even when the heart waves and toss us around, it will push us to the depths of hope. Creative innovation are highly coveted. Authentic basic values are preserved. Together, we empower and embrace the world. The responsibility for future generations is fulfilled, accompanied by a smile as fragrance, as gardenia blooming session. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Sahid, for your presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we have come to the end of this session. All the speakers have given their presentation successfully, nicely. So now we can have a question and answer session. Based on the questions that we have already received, firstly, I would like to read the first one. The first question is addressed to Dr. Sandra Reeve. Okay, Dr. Sandra Reeve, hello. Yeah, you have a question from Diana Butler. There are 3 questions. The first one is, regarding your presentation, from how many countries did the people participate in your guided sessions?
Oh.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
And the second is, did they also study Amerta movement with Pak Prapto in some cultural sites in Indonesia?
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is, do you think that what they did have influence on their job and life until now? Okay,
well,
the time is yours.
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you. Well, the answer to the first question is that in the Beyond Flat, the one that I showed the images of, we were, I think, 5 English and 1 German guiding the movement. And as far as I can remember, there were at least 8 or 9 countries participating. So we had people from Indonesia, and Italy, Spain, China, the UK, Germany, the USA, and I think that's covered it. So it was truly an international community. And yes, I think many of those people, I know many of those people would have worked with Pak Prapto in Java, also in Bali, and the others would have worked with him in other parts of the world. And the last question is really interesting. So I can speak for myself, and I imagine it's the same for many of my colleagues. I have spent many hours in Candi Suku. I've spent many hours in Borobudur, spent many hours in Parangtritis and practicing movement. And I can say that those sites were introduced to me as living heritage through the work with Pak Prapto. Those sites are alive, and their teachings, as translated to me by Pak Prapto, but also through my own direct experience of moving there, live on completely and influence my life and my attitudes in terms of human sacred. And in fact, in 2015, I also published a chapter about my work in Suku in a volume called Dance, Somatics and Spiritualities, published by Intellect, Contemporary Sacred Narratives. So the influence is very strong in many of our lives, yes. Thank you for the question.
Yeah. Well, I think the answers have already answered the question from Diana. Okay, and the next question now, it is addressed to Professor Teguh. Okay, Prof. Teguh, you have some question from the audience. It is a question from Pak Gunawan. Okay, the participant named Gunawan asking to Prof. Jos. In Javanese culture, we have comfort words, alon-alon waton kelakon. Alon-alon, pelan-pelan, orang akan terpapar COVID-19 juga. Seiring berjalannya waktu nanti, alon-alon juga akan sembuh dan kebal. As Japanese have kaizen, alon-alon waton kelakon may be similar with kaizen. Somehow, we will feel relieved because we don't have to be in a hurry in doing something. It eliminated the pressure of being hurried, eliminating deadlines that pumped up our adrenalines and make us stressed. Can we use alon-alon waton kelakon or kaizen to be comfort zone in order to heal from COVID-19 spreading? Silakan, Prof. Jos.
Okay, thank you very much for a nice question. Yes, you know what I'm know about the alon-alon asal kelakon. Yes, it is if the condition is normal, is okay. Yes, I think we can we can counter. Yes. But in the case of the COVID, you know, it is very dangerous. Yeah, I think it's alon-alon asal kelakon is almost impossible. We must do as fast as possible. Yes, it means it's not alon-alon asal kelakon, but cepet asal kelakon. Jadi harus cepet-cepet ya, cepet-cepet asal kelakon. Jadi you know, we need to solve this problem. I think it's yes, many people, including some researcher in Japan. In the case of Japan, you know, why the vaccine is it's very slow. Yeah, because in Japan it's very strict. Yes, some what is the standard for the medical on the medicine. Yes, so in this case is another country like the UK or America already you know they produce the vaccine, including the Russia and China, but unfortunately in Japan is very careful, and they must pass is I think in the world. Yes, in the Japanese medical standard is very you know strict, but yes, and the other side is the strict. It means is safe. Yes, so in this case is if in Japan you can get the medicine, it is already safe with the guarantee. Yeah, in this case is of course in Japan is we are work hurry up yes to do, but we must pass every rule in Japan. Yeah. In the case of the kaizen, yes, I think you know about the meaning of the kaizen. Yes, kaizen it means to improve. Yes, so in this case is if okay, we try to find the drug or the vaccine for the COVID. So in this case, is we must solve the problem itself, and then if you get, and then I think some of the vaccine have some side effects. So in this case, is we need to improve and improve. So in this is in in the meaning of the kaizen itself. Yeah, in the cases improve to find more better you know the vaccine, and the kaizen itself is I think is from the Toyota. Yes, it is one of the technique to improve the product. I think it's including the vaccine itself is okay. Yeah, and then yes after we you know get the vaccine itself or we infected, and I think it's some the including the medicine tools, and in Japan itself is we will you can get find a good vaccine and tool for the medicine to solve the corona itself. But unfortunately is after 2 weeks ago, and especially in the Osaka, today in fact I just got the information is about 905 people, yes, infected today. Yeah, it is very serious in Japan, and I don't know, maybe in a couple of weeks as well, also give the effect to our city in the Chiba and Tokyo area. Okay, maybe it is could satisfy the question.
Yeah, I think so, Prof.
Okay.
Josapat.
Okay, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the next question goes to Sandra again. My question is addressed to Sandra Reeve. This is from Johannes Erik from Unika Widya Mandala, Surabaya. Okay, I would like to ask about how do you engage and encourage your community to always keep in touch? And also, how do you keep your community to be stronger through these hard times?
Thank you for the question. So, as I've been working mainly on Zoom and on virtual platforms, because in the UK we can't leave our house, we can maybe go out once a day for walking in the most strong part of lockdown. So the way that I've been working is both to encourage people to work on their own, to work in pairs, and to work in groups, but doing movement together and also guiding each other. So each person shares their knowledge with a small group, and then they discuss, and then this gives stimulus to carry on with the practice, because it also gives a sense of other people doing it with you. If I just practice on my own day after day, even in the garden when there's many other sentient beings, it's not the same as the contact I have with fellow humans. And of course, then they also connect with their communities and encourage into the next hub of people. This to me has been the most effective way of working, alongside also sitting in meditation together in silence, but still can see the other on the screen. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Now there is another question, but this is addressed to Tricia Juliana Fitri. Mbak Tricia, there is a question for you. This is from Elasia Cindy Firsta Pramita from Unika Widya Mandala, Surabaya. I would like to ask you about how can we as individuals make movement properly and have a good impact?
Oh, thank you. This is a very difficult question to answer because movement has to be taught by practice. And when you deal with corrective movement as Sandra works or I work, I would call it functional movement system, though it's not a proper term. Then first thing first, that the person has to realize it's how they stand up and how they lie down flat. These two things. Lying down comes first, like a baby. Baby doesn't grow, you know, coming out of mom's womb and suddenly walk. Now, baby lie down for like several months until they can turn to the stomach, right? Lift the leg first. Yes, exactly like that. Put attention on how you lie down, in particular how the tin is. So don't put the thickness or the flatness of the pillow not suitable with the requirement of your neck, right? So like in meditation, when you meditate and you want to control the movement of your mind, you have to have it locked. But locking this is very difficult when there are problems with the spine and the hips. Yeah, you cannot see me. If I stand up. No, I cannot hear you. Okay, we have a problem because I cannot hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So this is how you have to stand up, right? You cannot stand up like this, and you cannot stand up like this. Yeah. But this is very difficult. You need wall, control it like that, and feel it first, because you have to own it. Owning a movement needs a nervous system training, right? And it has to be repeated a lot. And then feet. Imagine my hands as feet. People that having problem with weight management will have the step like this or like this. So you have to stepping flat like this. Indication, these toes has to be able to be lifted up like this. And separate with this big toe, yeah? This big toe has to be able to move independently. If it is incapable of moving independently, then you have a very stiff feet and it is weak and it is proprioceptive, means it helps your feet, your hands, this wrist, neck, help you to understand your space around you, to help you balance, to help you feel is the movement is good or not. And work with the hands first and then the feet. When you stand up, it cannot be like this, it can't be like this. And the training is with the toes. Move the toes like that a lot, yeah, independently, each of them. And then when you lie down, put it properly locked like this, like in meditation too. These three basics I can give you as the first steps. In my system, I work with the first steps, but it's very difficult. But I have a student that does it for 3 years. Okay, that very religious, bring it, fold it with her, this pillow, and put it on her neck all the time. And this is correcting her problem with the back, because she's like this and something is growing here. Yeah, this is problem for Europeans in general, because we sit on the chair and we sit on the sofas, on the couch, and they are so comfortable and the stomach is weak. I sit on the floor. I sit on meditative position most of the time, even 8 hours, 10 hours writing my materials. I took that discipline like a very, like religion. Yeah. So if you do that, I mean, weaken this stomach, this is what happens. And the compensation happens. The muscle that doesn't have to work becomes activated, and the unnatural growth that is not beautiful for the person is taking place. And the correction is somewhere between 5 up to 15 years. So take it seriously. This simple movement that give you, and the practical one, make this movement regularly, opening the chest. Okay, this is anatomical. It's basic. Everybody should be able to do it, but remember to do it. And this is the thing: 6 times, 7 times, 8 times a day, 5 minutes, and that should help. I hope this is helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. All right, probably this is the last question, unfortunately, because of the time, ladies and gentlemen. This question goes to Prof. Sahid Teguh Widodo. This is from Dian Butler. Kindly allow me to address a question to Prof. Sahid Teguh Widodo. Do you feel it is possible to encourage television stations to feature a brief weekly clip of inspiring words and acts, such as the video of PUI Javanologi UNS produced? Matur nuwun.
Okay, I think Javanologi will be happy to drive TV, national TV or private TV, to make a video that inspires strengthening mental and spiritual immunity. We will do it seriously. We will seriously to drive to television, yeah, and beside that, this year we are planning in Javanologi UNS, planning to make maybe more than 20 variety film, but having the same breadth. To strengthening the immunity of mental and spiritual. Yes, thank you. You already asked me, and we will do it with happiness, Dr. Diana Butler. But besides that, I want to say that maybe I thought we need to be careful in interpreting. Sorry for Professor Josaphat. This sentence, alon-alon waton kelakon, ya. In my mind, alon-alon waton kelakon is very interesting in the situations. In my mind, alon means cermat. Pandemic 19 is very dangerous. We have to cermat, careful, not reckless. Waton mean mengikuti aturan, follow the rules. Social distancing, wear the mask, clean your hand, social distancing, etc. And kelakon, we have to have positive thinking. We must. So alon-alon kelakon, we can translate it. We have carefully in this time, and always follow the rules, and always positive things. In my creativity, only in my mind, Professor Josaphat. So slowly, but alon-alon waton kelakon is not meaning slowly but sure. But in this context, careful, not reckless, follow the rules, and always positive things. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Prof. Sahid, for the answers. And thank you for all speakers who have already presented their papers and providing the answers to the participants. And we do apologize to all of the participants who have already written their questions to be addressed to the speakers. But due to the limited time, unfortunately, we could not provide the all satisfactory answers, and probably some of them could not be answered. All right, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we came to the final end of this conference today. However, before we end the session, let us listen to the closing remark that will be presented by the Secretary of Javanologi, Professor Diah Christina, M.A. Ph.D. The time is yours now, ma'am.
The New Global Order, sung by Soimah, a well-known Indonesian artist and singer. The song reminds us of human limitation. We have accepted our fate with relief. Now it's time to rise, make achievements to increase the benefit of mankind. Let's innovate. Welcome the new dawn with optimism. For our children and grandchildren, for the world to be even better. Let's join hands wrapped in affection. Love to share, cultivate an attitude of empathy. Let's spread positive energy for the inhabitants of this beloved earth. Thank you very much for joining this program.
Wow, very lovely. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, eventually we come to an end of today's program. Conference on Sirep Sungsang, Building Mental and Spiritual Immunity in Facing the COVID-19 Pandemic. Again, I will inform you about the certificate of this conference. You can obtain your certificate through the link which has been posted by the committee in the chat box. On behalf of the committee, we do hope that this event is fruitful for you. We're looking forward to seeing you in forthcoming events. We thank you very much for having joined and participated in this webinar. I'm sorry for any inconvenience. Goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih Profesor Sahid dan semuanya.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Jaga kesehatannya
Terima
semua.
Thank you for
melihat. Terima kasih Prof. Sahid, Teguh. Terima kasih banyak.
Bicara. Namun
terima kasih organizer.
Kian menjauh. Semua orang terbisu. Aku membangkai. Kesunyian datang, memecah renyai hujan merah darah.
Lockdown. This asphalt mile and eyeless street, this distant smile and furtive nod, this tremor of doubt, this hesitant step, this faint shout of an unseen child, this winking light on an empty lake, this frigid night in a starry cave, this dusty ground, this ghost gum tree, this search for sound beyond our sight.
Corona, sebuah nama. Corona, nama yang menakutkan, maut. Nama yang memisahkan, beribadah di rumah, WFH, jaga jarak, di rumah aja. Nama yang menyebabkan kecemasan, penderitaan, kesengsaraan, pengangguran, kemiskinan, kematian.
Pantun Corona. Kenanga putih tersusun rapi. Tangkai menjuntai terbagi dua. Dunia merintih tak terperih. COVID-19 itu penyebabnya. Bunga matahari mekar merona, berbaris-baris kanan dan kiri. Semua berhenti karena corona. Pewaris bumi sedang diuji.
Don't give up. In the name of God, let's start, and for the epidemic, let's master. And by the remembrance of God, we seek help, and we don't fear death if it comes. Leave the pessimism about you and smile. Don't leave any outlet for distress. Despite the hardships and tribulations, this epidemic will not extend. The remembrance of Allah, our hearts are reassured. Upon Him everything was based. Let goodness accelerate, and let us master and be patient.
Rise together now. Overhead, 2 eagles circle, no contrails marring their rhythmic orbit. Lower and lower they drop, scanning the quiescent city below. In late day stillness they see what once moved unnoticed, finding easy cover beneath the smoke, the noise, the distraction of manic motion. Focus now they dive in unison, their prey exposed in sight.
God's deliverance through COVID-19 pandemic in Papua New Guinea. How much longer will you forget me, God, forever? How much longer will you hide yourself from me? How long must I endure coronavirus pandemic? How long will sorrow fill my heart day and night? How long will my enemy triumph over me? Look at me, O God, and answer me. Restore my strength. Don't let me die. Don't let my enemy say, we have defeated him. And don't let them gloat over my downfall. Save me, O God. I am sinking in a deep mud, and there is no solid ground.
The candle. The fire flickers a country and shivers. The world rolls its eyes. Here we go again, blind to the impending demise. The light dims, cooling hymns. The world awakens, social distancing, ignorant as it spreads in seconds. The wax drips, a smile on death's lips. The world in tears, death count. Death to the wailing hearts pierced. The candle half melted, prayers muttered, the world sings. It will end soon. Disagree, not what the average man thinks.
Gerakkanlah hati manusia untuk bersama-sama tolong-menolong raga-raga yang terpapar virus corona COVID-19. Sehatkanlah para dokter dan para medis yang berbakti untuk negeri. Garda paling depan, nolong ciptaan.
Corona di Nusaku. Corona merambah Nusaku. Tepian jalannya jadi lengang. Dalam terik panas menyengat-sengat. Suara melirih melemah, lunglai menyeru pilu.
Lockdown became a leveler of the rich and poor, binding all races and beliefs, fighting an unseen enemy. The lockdown that got us all down, putting the whole world down, and everyone got a frown, all from a virus like a crown. The frontliners, nurses, medics, the media, and all, none is paid, however the luck.
Kanthi kuyuh brasta lara corona nere ing lumaing Jagating manungsa mligine tanusantara pratita tentreming ati pansamya welas asih sesami